Yes, people. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's outside. She's in a bad mood. She's in a real bad mood with me. I have been sick all over Christmas. I went to the Tottenham game, the Liverpool game. Had a great time meeting some people. And then on the way home, see how I'm honest with you people. I'm going to tell you a story now and just let the shall I say how the cookie crumbles or maybe how the cookie ran? I was on my way home and a little rumbling happened in the stomach and I had to dart off. And fortunately, because God was favouring the brave on that particular moment, there was a service station that was just up ahead. Had there not have been, then it would have been curtain for Sean's car, curtain for all sorts of my favourite wardrobe, and just one of those things where the memories are probably only going to get worse over the years. So, and that was the start. I was like, where's that come from? That's horrendous. But I managed to waddle like a penguin through the Christmas service station, just about keeping enough together. And going to getting it all sorted out until I then got home, and then after that it all fell out. I don't mean just that way. I mean this way, everywhere. I was sweating like a pig. I spent Christmas Day in bed. I spent Christmas Eve in bed. I spent all day on Boxing Day in bed. I didn't even watch the Tottenham game. Couldn't even watch it. I listened to Jack and Druzilla do a brilliant job on the commentary on Irish Hotspur. I couldn't even watch them. I was so horrendously unwell. I still am. I still feel horrendous. I've got pains in every... You know when you've got like flu? And flu manifests itself in normal ways, right? You go, I've got flu. I've got the sore throat. I've got like the stiff neck, the cold, the shivers down your spine, everything. And you've got the cough and, whatever, right? You've got the usual sort of Beecham's Lemsip style symptoms of flu. Well, whatever this is or was, or it still is going to prove to be, there's different symptoms. Things like my knees were throbbing, my testicles throbbing, obviously I'm quite used to having pains over here, like because of my problems with the liver and the pancreas and stuff from a couple of years ago when I was put on the cancer pathway. But like, over this side, I don't know what's over here. I'm not sure what organs are over here. I thought it was just your lung and then a bunch of intestine or whatever. But there's pains here. I also thought that your lungs were supposed to be nerveless. I didn't think your lungs really kind of hurt that much, but they apparently can do. So it's been the worst bloody Christmas I've ever seen in my life. And if I'm entirely honest, guys, it's been the worst year of my life. Not that I am complaining. In fact, I am going to complain because I am very short-sighted. And I do obviously acknowledge there's a lot of people out there that have got a lot of things worse than I have. 100%. Closer to home than just me. My dad, obviously, he had one of his kidneys taken out last month from kidney cancer. And, God willing, he's on the mend. Let's hope. These bastards that are hacking me. I've only just got back into WhatsApp. So I might be putting out a link to see if anyone wants to join me on this miserable feelsorryformyself.com day. But you know what? We're not going to try and do that. We're going to try and make some sense of it. I hope you guys are all happy now for doing the things that you love. I spent 4 minutes saying how I nearly shit myself. And there might be, there might be a chance where I might have to dart off just in case. Because this is the first time I'm letting a little drop of Christmas spirit. This is the first one. I've just literally cracked the bottle, you can see. It's just been cracked. There's the power line, right? So first glass, and we're going to enjoy ourselves tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk a little bit about what on God's green earth is going on at Tottenham. What do we do? Listen, I've said to you before, right? I don't think you can sack the man. I don't know where you go from here. I don't know why anyone would want to leave short term. I don't know what changes short term because. Let's be honest, the greatest chance for success was probably in the Carabao Cup, and then you got Liverpool. Do you really have what it takes to beat them over 2 games? We couldn't beat them over 1 game at home. especially with the league and the squad strength that we have as it currently is, and versus them that have been blessed with this ridiculous sort of infallibility when it comes to the Dr. Tottenham version of Liverpool, whatever that is. There's no medical malfeasance over in Anfield, and so they've got the best squad in Europe. They've got the best sort of luck with injuries. They've got a manager that's come in and taken it's like a snowball that's rolling downhill, and the target is at the bottom of the hill. He hasn't really got to do too much. Just got to keep leaning on it, and it will keep going in the right direction. That front three, not quite maybe as good as the one that had Mane and Firmino with Salah, but it's not far away. But Tottenham, under Ange, it doesn't matter for me. Even if you were to get everybody back right now, does anything materially change? Maybe you have a little bit more ability to get something out of it. But the first game is in a week's time, right? The first game is the 8th of January, I think. So no one's really going to come back and make a massive dent in our injury problems. From Radu Dragusin, I think he's gone out injured now as well. I haven't seen the detail. Let me know if I'm wrong. In fact, before I get into any more of this stuff, let's at least stop in and say how you're doing. I'm completely out of sync with these live stream things. Let's see what's going on, shall we? We got Tony Rodriguez. Big up, Tony. Big up, Sean. Possible guests and the chat. Yeah, I'm going to put the link out in a little while. Anyone can come on. Anyone at all can come on. Whatever you want to talk about. Let's just do a Christmas bonanza, shall we? Whatever you want to. If you're coming on, come on with a topic that you'd like to discuss. And if there's lots of people that want to come on, then to keep it like free and nimble, then we'll give like 15 minutes or whatever per person and let them fling it around. But if there's only maybe a handful of people, then we'll just leave it open and we'll just run with it. Big up to you, Tony. I hope you're okay, man. Merry Christmas to the Swedes. We love the Swedes, my favourite people. Them and Antipodeans. Love the Scandies, love the Australians. And the New Zealanders and the islands, all those people, brilliant people. I love all of you, really, but if I had to like stack rank, it is what it is. Someone's got to be top. I've not had enough of Ange. Levy, well, that's another matter. That bloke does no daring and doing year after year. I've had enough of him and his cronies for sure. Too short, Daniel is at fault. Okay. Listen, you know how I feel. I understand why people want to have simple answers to complex problems. It makes life easier, but I don't. Again, same thing. What changes with a new owner? Tell me what changes. I don't think a lot changes. I really don't. I'm all for it. I'm open ears. People think that I'm the opposite to people that are leaving out because I don't necessarily subscribe to their thought processes. If you watch my channel, you know that's not the case. I'll always criticize where I think the criticism is due. I think we are massively guilty of overpaying on certain players, massively making donuts out of ourselves, paying for like subpar players. I don't put, Dominic Solanke in that bucket. I think that Dominic Solanke versus Richalison, similar price tags, different gravy of players. Solanke for me is twice the player, 3 times the player Richarlison was. What we were thinking, paying £60 million. What were we thinking even buying Richarlison? The geezer's absolutely bang average. And I called out Daniel Levy at the time. Everyone forgets that. People think because I'm not with you, I'm against you. It's not the case. I just choose my own path. And my path is sometimes shared by others. Sometimes it isn't. That's fine. I'm 40 years old. I'm a 40-year-old bachelor, boys. I'm used to flying solo in life, you know? Used to doing it. Traveled a lot as well. Lots of hotels, lots of lonely nights. Things happen, you know? Things happen. You get used to flying your own path. You get used to it. And that's part and parcel of why you come to your own determinations. You don't need to worry. The popular opinions of life have absolutely no bearing on the veracity of them as a strength of argument weight. Plenty of things have been very popular at the time that with the benefit of hindsight have proven to be idiotic. Slavery, Nazism, defund the police, you know. I'll give you 3 just off the top of my head. Stupid ideas from both sides of the political spectrum, horrendous in their veracity, and yet incredibly popular by certain groups of people at certain times in life. Popularity of opinion, strength of argument, not always the same thing. And with Daniel Levy, I'd argue, listen, he's not great. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Where do we go in a different direction? Is there the opportunity to get it better? Possibly. Is there the opportunity for it to get worse? A lot worse, 100%. So You bring me a strong argument as to who is the next guy in, and I'm all open-eared, and I will always judge with impartiality if I can. Who else we got to say hello to? Finn. What's happening, Finn? Good to see you, man. Big up, Shawnee. Good to see you, Finn. Who's that? This is Adrian, isn't it? Good to see you, Adrian. How you doing, mates? How you doing? Adam Levitt's in the house. Cunha doesn't play on Sunday. He's a player we should sign, isn't he? He's a player we should all get behind, right? I think he's a player that... Well, you know what is interesting? You know when like people... you know when people kind of go like, I wasn't on board this player, I wasn't on board that player, I wasn't on board this player. If your version of content, and again, no hate towards it, it's just it's a style, but like the Alice in Wonderland trick, once you see behind the curtain and you see what it is, it's not quite as convincing, and it's difficult to kind of, once you see, you can't unsee. I definitely think that there is a benefit, a brand benefit, to be able to say, like, I have an issue with everything that is on offer. Like, I'm not on board the owner, I'm not on board the manager, I'm not on board the transfers. I was never on board Solanke, I was never on board Richalison, I was never on board Brennan Johnson, Vicario, whatever, right? Two problems with that. Essentially, what you're, and then you give yourself a pat on the back when it turns out that we fail or we're likely to fail. Well, for me, it doesn't matter who you are a supporter of, what team you happen to follow. As I've said 1,000 times, if you look at the stats, guys, then it does, even if you back the most successful team in the history of any team in any sport, just by the kind of predicated rules and metrics of success, you're going to succeed less frequently than you are failing, if failing is determined by whether or not you win a trophy in that particular season. So Manchester United and Liverpool in the English setup are the most successful teams, but yet fail 65 to 70% of the time, and everybody else fails more than that. Therefore, even if you are someone who supports Man United and Liverpool, and you have set yourself up whereby you say that I'm right and everyone was wrong because I have constantly gone about a method of finding problems with everything that's presented to me because I am taking advantage of that shtick. I am someone who gets to celebrate my team winning when they rarely do, but when they don't, I get to celebrate my opinion. Once you see through it, and you peel back the kind of the curtain and you have a little look through and kind of go, oh, I see. Then it's difficult to take them seriously. But it's like saying, I'm a fucking expert at predicting what the lottery numbers aren't going to be. Cool. Every single week, every single season, every single day, I can tell you 6 numbers that the lottery ticket's not going to be. Should I give myself a pat on the back every single time that happens? If you want to, okay, congratulations. It's more difficult telling me what the numbers are going to be, and that's what I want. That's what I'm happy for people to like. I don't resent anybody for figuring out that Tottenham's story is like infiltrated with a perennial failure. I think if you look at the amount of trophies that we've entered in the National League since, what was it, in 140 years, then, I think we've won, I think we've failed, if success is a trophy and otherwise it's a failure, I think we fail 98% of the time. Right? So it's a good kind of shtick to have, right? If you get to be right 98% of the time, and then the 2% that you're wrong, no one cares about you because we're all celebrating lifting the trophy. It's a win-win, So I don't personally subscribe to that unless you can be held accountable for the things that you do want. And you don't often hear what people do want. People that run by that, they tell you what they don't want. They're very happy to say, I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with that. You don't really hear what you do want. Sometimes you do, and then when those players don't work out, they're conveniently left off the list of players that they will remind people that they didn't want at the time. I didn't want Johnson. I didn't want Richalison. I didn't want Vicario. I didn't want this. I was not on board this. I was not on board that. Okay. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't a single person that wasn't on board Bissouma I'm pretty sure there wasn't a single person that wasn't on board Maddison. You know, just two off the top of my head. And yet they haven't been spectacular either. And if they haven't been spectacular, and we can't throw that at the fault of the manager, who you always don't like, then of course we get the big, giant hallelujah, the Hail Mary of the last part of your argument, which is always, doesn't matter where anything happens down here anyway, because it all comes back to the big guy at the top. You know, I'd love to hear a little bit more around what it is that they do want, so that we can find out what those lottery numbers are, just in case we ever get there, you know, so that then we can kind of hold people to those accounts as well. But I don't expect we will. But I do want to put out the link. But before I do that, and like I say, anyone wants to come on, Adam Levitt saying, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And Tactics is responsible for the injuries. Yeah. Listen, on that one, man, I've got to be entirely honest. I've been consistent in as much as I don't think you can sack Ange. I've said it from the get-go, though. I don't think he's going to change. I think that's going to be a problem. It's never going to change. He isn't going to change. He's made that abundantly clear. And I even intimated a long time ago, I think it was before my break, I said to you guys, my intuition tells me he's a little bit of a bluffer, like a bit of a, I won't say a fraud. Fraud is a horrible word to describe someone who I actually like. I do like him. Like, he's a nice bloke. He seems like he's a fun guy. And he's got all of that winning kind of razzmatazz, that charisma, that can light up a room, you know. But I just think that if you only have one way of playing, you know, like can't cook, won't cook. I think it's with him, it's like can't change, won't change. But he won't change because he can't change. He can't go into the training ground tomorrow and say, all right, guys, against Wolves, we're going to step it back. We're going to go three at the back, wing backs. We're going to drop Solanke into more, or that role of Solanke comes back into that kind of more sort of discreet, you know, like false nine kind of role. We're going to make it more too narrow at the top end. Let the wing backs control this. Like, he can't do any of that because he clearly hasn't done any of those things on the training ground. And all of those players are going to be like, "What are you talking about? Like, we haven't prepared for that." And like I said, I've said it, you know, 1,000 times. Like, if you only have a plan A. And for what it's worth, like from what I keep hearing this. He doesn't, and I don't know if it's the same source which is dropping around that it's nonsense. I've got no ability to verify. So I don't know whether or not this is true. So take this with a pinch of salt. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt. You know me. I'm usually half cut. And I come on these shows with the intention of saying one thing, end up saying something else, usually ruffle some feathers somewhere. I don't really mean to. I love everybody. But, you know, it is what it is, right? We're going to say what we're going to say, especially when you're unwell. Doped up on some heavy duty Beecham's. I'm a little bit sweaty as well. Am I sweating? Yeah, probably. Look, I think that with the situation as it kind of it lands. I hear that he doesn't even take the training sessions. That he just sits in his office watching them via a video link. Okay, what's that about? That's a bit of a flag for me, because all he's therefore doing is transitioning his narrative to the coaches that he didn't even pick, that he just inherited, and then they transition it. Where's the man management on that basis? Where's the one-to-one coaching? Even his mesmerical, philosophical pre-game speeches that we've heard so much about. You know, I'd imagine that works really well in Australia when he's talking from an Australian voice, talking to Australians, you know, in the Australian dressing room. I'd imagine that would go down really well because there's no translation barrier. You know, is it going to go down quite as well to Pedro Porro, to Romero, to Bentancur, to Destiny? I mean, I think Destiny Udogie does speak pretty good English, but probably better than I do. Vicario does, I think. Richalison, how long has he been in England? Doesn't speak a word of it, does he? You know? I'm just not sure if that's kind of part of your value. I used to have a lot of bosses. Like when I used to work in America and that kind of Google partner thing, I used to have a lot of bosses that would pillow people above and below themselves, that were kind of pillow managers, that would kind of protect the value, right? There's lots of this kind of hierarchical kind of constraints. And they'd have these pillowed kind of managerial processes where they kind of protect you from the next guy that was coming up that was valuable, for sure. But if he got too high too soon, he'd be chomping at the bit, and it was just dangerous. You'd start getting, whatever. It is what it is. But one of the things that I saw as you went up that ladder was so many people were so brilliant at the 10,000 foot stuff, the bigger picture thing. Everyone wanted to be the bigger picture guy because there was no need for detail. There was very little need for specifics, very little need for how do we actually get from where we are to where you want to be. I hear you. I hear everybody tell me where we want to be, but how does that actually materialize? And there was very few people that were very talented at the detail. That we go, okay, well, this takes, journey, this long journey, but you need to get there in bite-sized chunks. So the first thing you've got to do is this, and this will then open up that door. This will hopefully, if we do that bit well, then that bit will then allow us to do this bit, and yada, yada, yada. And I realized pretty quickly that in order to get to the top, or as close to the top as I thought I could get to, I had to move from the 10,000 foot view, which is a lot easier, into trying to be the operations guy. That was a lot harder, but the pathway to success was a lot shorter. And in the end, it didn't work out. Otherwise, I'd still be there. But I wanted to laugh harder then. But I can't because I'm in pain. But listen, I think that with Ange, I think he's a bigger picture guy, and I think he's a philosopher. I heard what's his name, Box Office, on a video saying, what is? I think it was on We Are Tottenham TV. He's like, he's not a coach. And then Ange, and then I think Ben or Sim said, well, what is he then? He's like, I think he's a manager. I don't think he's either. And when you think of managers of football teams, you think people that have got their oar into every department of the club, right? People that have got their say. Jurgen Klopp, coach and a manager. Alex Ferguson is the obvious one. Arsene Wenger, proper managers of the football club. The control, they have overarching control into every different department and pie. And the coach is the guy that kind of just comes in and figures out the football stuff and lets other people take care of that. So I don't think Ange is not the manager, but I don't even think he's a coach. I don't think you can call yourself a coach if you don't even bring your own coaching team with you. And if the rumors are true that you are hanging around in the dressing room or in the office when the team are out on the pitch, if that's true, then I don't know what that tells me. It's not great. It really isn't great. But what I would say, guys, is that I think he's a philosopher. I think you hear a lot about the kind of the speeches and the mission statement and the pathway and the plan and the project and what we're trying to do here. And it's all great. And listen, I'd love to have faith. It's just difficult to have faith right now. It's very, very difficult. That notwithstanding, I am 100% cognizant of how bad the injuries are. We have no centre backs. We have absolutely no depth that we can lean into right now. There are some questionable decisions, though. Why is it that we have two midfielders that are playing centre back and Dorrington doesn't even get a look in? Is he that bad? If he's that bad, then is Paratici really, as good as we all think he was at building out this youth system? Does Ange just have his sort of favourites, his blinkers on? I don't know, guys. I'm going to put the link out there. There's 450 people watching. I've been talking for 25 minutes already. It was only supposed to be a 5 minute. I haven't even got past the fourth person on the comment section. Let me throw the link out there. And I'm not going to be interrupting. I'll be asking you lot questions if you want to come on. So come on and say hello. Let me quickly see what's going on here. Darren Pierce. What's happening, Darren? No matter who we get in, the biggest problem is leaving. Again, that's fine. The biggest problem in football is certainly not Daniel Levy. The biggest problem at Tottenham, within Tottenham, internally, possibly, it's difficult because you haven't got the ability to kind of look into, you can't look into the past and see the same other presence. So the idea of a common denominator, but I fundamentally disagree that common denominator is the right way to analyze 25-year spectrums. Because if Daniel Levy is responsible for all that's wrong at Tottenham, then who's responsible for all that's wrong at Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Derby, Ipswich, Newcastle, Everton, all the teams that used to win? In fact, I'm going to get up some data for you because I've been saying this for ages and I never got around to doing it. We've got Saba.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Happy Christmas.
And to you, what's going on?
Nothing. We were just talking on WhatsApp, and I thought someone said Sean's live, and I went, "Oh, Sean's live. Let's go and say hello." And Saw you were inviting people on. So how are you? You good?
I'm sick, mate. I'm sick, riddled with flu. I've got the sweats on. Now that I've got to like look up as well, I'm gonna see if I can lift this bad boy. There we go. A little bit more eye level to the screen, I think. Mate. How's your Christmas? Good, all good?
Mate, very good. Very, very quiet. I just come back from holiday, didn't I? So it was literally come back from holiday and just do nothing. I don't think I've left the house for about 5 days. So just super chilled, man. But listen, hope you feel better soon.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, mate. So listen, you said send me the link. I only got four comments down, and now I've seen it. Send the link. I'll tell you what I want. Tell me what you want, Sama. Tell me what it is you want, my man.
Yeah, look, only because I thought tell me this is Eugene. Tell me this is Eugene.
Oh, Eugene was. It was. Yeah, here we go.
There he is.
The best friend.
There he is.
Hey, Sean.
Eugene's here to give me a personal apology rather than an apology form. Hello, mate.
How's it going?
Wait, is there history between you two?
Oh, yeah.
No.
We go way back.
Show every week. Comes in my show every week.
Okay. Well, let's get some fireworks cracking then. Get some poppers out. It's Christmas after all. Okay,
No,
Eugene, mate, welcome, Eugene. I'm not sure. Eugene, have you been on the show before? I'm not sure, mate. My memory's terrible.
No, I'm on your WhatsApp, but no, I haven't been on the show yet. So good talking to you, Sean.
Good, mate. Good to meet you, buddy. Good to meet you. Saba said he wants to tell us what he wants, and I want to hear it. And then we'll go out and we'll come around to you as well, and we'll get some feedback on it from everyone else as well. So, Saba, take us away, mate. What is it that you want from what we don't currently have, but what is also within the realms of possible?
Mate, listen, Sean. One of the things
I know you're reasonable.
You know me. I don't sit here and go, "Oh, we should be buying Florian Wirtz and Musiala." Right. I'm not that guy. I've said for ages. I tell you, I've got a fan in your chat, haven't I? Hello, stick around, Bennett. Happy Christmas to you as well. Hope you and your family are well, buddy. What I've always said is, I know when we always talk about, like, for example, if we're talking about Ange leaving, the question is always asked about, well, who are you getting in, right? Well, look, there's lots of managers I want in, and people go, oh, but we've tried Jose, we've tried Conte. For me, I don't think this club needs I don't think we need a glamorous, sexy name, Sean. I don't think that's what we need. I think this is the problem. We think we're bigger than we are. What I want is a coach. I want to go back to the days of having a coach like a Harry Redknapp, like a Pochettino. I'm not saying those two. I'm just using them as an example.
Yeah.
Of
that's
managers
the bare minimum, though, right? You can't be a manager before you've proven yourself as a coach. To be honest, I think you know
completely, mate. But I think we need someone that comes in. I think. You know, when I've been talking a lot lately about, if you look at Fulham, if you look at Bournemouth, if you look at Forest, not so much Forest because we've done the Nuno thing, but, you know, if you look at Brentford, these are clubs with not the greatest squads in the world. Their managers know their limitations, but they coach with what they've got. They put square pegs in square holes and make them a difficult unit to beat. So the sum of the parts is greater, right? If we're going to go down that route. Mm-hmm. And I think we need that. I truly think we need that. We need a manager that comes in, and we don't need to be completely 10 men behind the ball. We don't need to be all out gung-ho, no tactics like Ange. I think we need a guy that comes in that wants to coach, a guy that wants to solve problems. And Eddie, I'm not saying Eddie Howe, but an Eddie Howe type, somebody who goes, right, I've got 6-7 first-team injuries. What do I do? How do I plug these gaps? I don't think we have that, Sean, and I think this club needs to get back to football basics. And where I get frustrated,
it's almost got a little bit too basic, isn't it? With us,
right?
One way only. I don't know. I love the principle behind Ange, I really do. But I think where the rubber meets the road is there's just too many there's no smoke without fire, and I still maintain I think it's entirely unreasonable to sack the guy right now. We're still in all the competitions, right? I think the injury crisis is real. And I think it's you know, I agree with you when you say that there's not much necessarily changes, because we didn't see that much changing before the injury crisis. So I hear that as well as a defense of the point. But I just think that, you know, I think if we can manage to squeeze away past Liverpool in the cup, to sack him now would be as egregious as sacking Mourinho, wouldn't it?
Not for me. I think the difficulty you've got there is Jose Mourinho was the greatest manager ever. in terms of one-on-one games. One-off games, Jose Mourinho's record in cup finals is, hasn't he just like 2 in 20 or so? Just something ridiculous. But look, the key thing for me here is Ange isn't doing a good job. Factually, he's doing Sean, I know people don't want to hear it. Factually, he's doing a horrific job. It doesn't matter what metric you look at. The last 14 months have been horrific. And I know people won't like me, Sean, and they won't like my opinion. But if you look past me saying it and you look past whether you like my channel or like me as a person, the facts aren't lying, Sean. The guy's done the worst job of any manager we've had for 20 years in all metrics. For me, I can't see.
But is there any? Do you give any? Do you give any respite to the fact that he's got not a single fit centre back in the squad?
Sean, if it had been like that for 14 months, I would. But this form has been 14 months. And this is why whenever people go to me, oh, the injuries. Like, well, first of all, loads of other clubs have injuries. Second of all, I have the Romero and Van De Ven injuries, Sean, they're on him. The first time, fine. The second time, playing them both against Chelsea at the same time when they weren't due to be back fit, that is negligent management for me, and that sits on him. But listen, I'd
also throw in there, if we are going to be super harsh on certain things with regard transfers, injuries, and strategy, you could make an argument that just like with Tanguy and Ndombele, people didn't smell a rat when there was no one else willing to pay the money and there was no one checking to see what mentality this guy's got. With Micky Van De Ven, as brilliant a player as he is, are we sure that he had a massive hamstring injury the year before we signed him? You're bringing him in to play a ridiculously high line where his pace is going to be using that. Like, are we not flogging a dead horse and expecting a different outcome when you know that he's already got a historical track record of hammy injuries? I think that we need to go massive with I don't think you go and buy a backup, quote unquote, left-sided centre back. I think you need to go as strong in that department as you do a Micky Van De Ven, because I think you're going to have a Micky Van De Ven that spends half his career on the touchline whilst he plays in a system like what we're asking him to play. I think it's horrendous to say it, but there's just he's too young to have had he's had, 3-4 hammies now on the same side.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's unfortunately going to be, it's written in the stars, right?
Listen, the way I see it, and so just before you bring Eugene in, the way I see it is whether you like this style of play or not, whether you like the manager or not, whether you like the players or not, right? 14 months of this, Sean. It's if we were looking at any of our neighbours doing this for 14 months, we'd all be having a laugh, right? If we saw Villa had 14 months of this, if we saw that Arsenal had 14 months of it, we'd all be sitting there going,
"Oh, I did at Chelsea." Right?
Even Chelsea, we'd all be going, "Wow, how bad are they? That manager's crap. Let them keep that manager." The problem for me is every metric. There isn't a single metric where Ange has done well in the last 14 months. There isn't. If anyone can find one, I'll listen to it. But he's dreadful. Sorry, I'll say this before I go. Sorry for you to pass Eugene. The worst manager I've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur, ever.
Wow. I mean, that's quite the... And guys, listen, I'm going to bring Eugene in now. Shout out to you, Eugene. Eugene, thanks for staying patient, man. These guys, it's still Christmas. It's the Christmas week. Like, there's no need for the nasties in the comments. I don't always keep an eye on what's going on in the comment section, so I'm always trying to juggle in my mind questions to ask, and then all these other things. And it's difficult for me. I'm not that smart. But keep the comments, like, it's all just opinions, right? So there's no ad hominems, no nasties about Sarr or Eugene or anybody else. I'll just put you in timeouts and then you'll get frustrated, and that's all that's going to happen. So if I see any more coming in, just keep it on the topic, right? If you disagree with Sarr or Eugene, just say why. You haven't got to be a donut about it, And I say donut in the nicest possible way, sweet and sugary, but also, a lifetime on the hips. Eugene, what's your stance on Ange right now? Is Sarr right? Is there a worse manager in Tottenham Hotspur's history in our lifetime? I don't know how old you are, but like somewhere between 20 and 50.
I mean, I've been supporting Spurs for 15 years. So It's tough. I mean, Sava knows my views. We've had many debates for a while now. I'm consistent where I want to give every manager 2 years at least, and I want to see him implement his philosophy and get the players he needs before making a decision. I was always Ange. Now at this point, I'm Ange. I don't care. I just think bringing in a different manager, we might, win a few more games. We might finish 5th, 6th, but I don't think it matters. We're seeing with Man U right now. I'm sure they'll improve, but the players make most of the difference, in my mind. So just my issue is the recruitment and the wage bill, right? Any manager that we bring in, Frank, Eddie Howe, whoever, if we keep bringing in players on low wages who are inconsistent, who are mid-level players, we have players like Madison or Bissouma. On their day, they can be great. But their issue is one game they're good, another game they're crap. And that's the players that we have. So
yeah.
To me,
can I ask you a question, Eugene? Then, sorry, can I ask you a question on this? Because to make this a debate, right?
Yeah.
And to get Sean some viewers and get myself called a prick a few more times. Can't enjoy it now. But when you say that, Eugene, we might get a few more wins. Will it make a difference? But Eugene, every single coach, pundit, ex-manager out there, they're all slamming Ange's tactics. They're all slamming them because basically there are no tactics. And I'll ask you the question that I've asked everyone on my channel. When people tell me, oh, it's the players, we haven't got the players, they're on low salaries. There are 5 teams in this top 10 that are above us that shouldn't be. And when I say they shouldn't be, I'm not being arrogant. What I mean is if I had sat here with Sean on his channel, on my channel in the summer, before a ball was kicked, and if I had said to you guys, right, at the halfway stage in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brighton, Brentford, they're all going to be level on points with us or above us in the Premiership table. I would have been called negative, right? I would have been told I'm not a Spurs supporter. I would have been told that none of their players, Eugene, get into our 11. Now, because they're all above us, it's our players aren't good enough. Our squad is better than Bournemouth's. Our squad is better than Brighton's. Our squad is better than Fulham's. Our squad is better than Nottingham Forest's. You can't tell me, Eugene, that if we had a better manager that put square pegs in square holes and actually had a system that made us hard to beat, right, that we wouldn't be above those football clubs right now. That's why Ange, for me, is everything wrong with the problem at the moment.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if our squad is fit, definitely. But what happened with Newcastle 2 years ago, right? They had all these injuries and they fell off. I think there's only so much I can do. And again, I agree with you on the tactics. The issue for me is there's this, everybody talks about defensive issues. I don't think that's been our biggest issue. Our biggest issue is that we cannot score. We had 5 games where we scored 4 goals, right? For like Villa, Man U, City, who else? Everton, right? Most of other games against mid-level teams, like Ipswich Forest, we can barely score 1 goal. We cannot score against low blocks. So that's my thing.
Why?
So, for example, well, it's both. It's tactics. I agree with you, but it's also the players who are not good enough or not making the right decision. As an example, last night's game in the beginning, Son runs with the ball. It's 2-on-3. Johnson is wide open on the other side. Just easy pass and a tap in. Son takes a shot and misses, right? It's just, we even when we're in the right positions, it seems like the players are not making the right decision.
But Eugene, look at the teams we struggle to score against, right? Look how well organized. This is the problem. Look at Fulham when they came to White Hart Lane, right? Fulham man for man, player for player. All right, maybe 1 or 2 of theirs you'd say, yeah, we want. But player for player, we're not taking 7 or 8 of their first 11 to come into our team. But what they've got is they've got a manager who plays a solid back 4, fullbacks that actually play at fullback and go on the outside, 2 midfielders that actually sit in midfield and don't spend their whole game covering everywhere on the pitch. They've got a playmaker in Smith Rowe who plays as a playmaker. We put so much on these players, right? But when I asked Eugene, with all due respect, when you used to come on my show in the summer, you were telling me how we were going to challenge for top 3, top 4. I
said we'll finish 5th.
Okay.
So past the window, I said we didn't sign anybody.
That wasn't such a massive stretch, though, was it? To sit there and say that?
I think with this manager, it is, Sean. My problem is, Sean, is all the people that were saying like 3rd, 4th, 3rd, whatever. Not you, Eugene. All of a sudden now it switched to, well, the squad isn't good enough and the players aren't good enough. Well, hang on. We knew what the squad was in the summer, and we knew the players we had in the summer. And as I kept saying,
I can't believe people were sitting there. The goalpost moving, the goalpost movements by fans is incredible. Everyone wants to be right. I know that, and everyone hopes that no one remembers what they said. I wish there was some like blockchain, like indelible mark where everything you ever said in the history of your takes could easily be identifiable. You could put in like a search term, Sean Butler and Levy, click, and then just a bunch of statements that could easily be filtered. It'd be superb, so you could be held accountable. Because I think that a lot of people think that the internet's got a short memory and that no one's going to call them out. But like the amount of goalpost moving for me is madness. I think that the squad, I've always maintained this. I think that this squad, given the amount, you've got 10, 11 injuries that are all first team capable players, and you're still able to put out first team performers like. And let's be honest, against Nottingham Forest, not that I managed to see the game, but from what I've read this morning, from what I saw in the highlights and from what I've heard in the YouTube channels from today, the people that you would expect to come in and step up, stand up and do something aren't doing it. Like Bentancur apparently had an absolute shocker yesterday. And like, I've been saying that you can't expect this system to work without a 6. Like it's just so obscene to me. I've been saying it for 2 years that Tottenham need a 6. The fact, like for me, it's the fact that Ange doesn't agree that a 6 is different to an 8, is different to a 10. That is the biggest red flag, and tells me, I believe, why he's not cut out for this level. Because just like here's Benny boy, bring Benny. Good to see you. Good to see you, mate. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah,
Merry Christmas.
And all the festivities.
You didn't say happy Hanukkah to Eugene. We're both members of the tribe.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah. I'm sorry, mate.
Don't tell him, Ben. Why are you doxing me? No.
That's not doxing you, Eugene. It just means you love latkes.
There you go.
I love everything.
Yeah, look, I just think that there's a. I think you have if you make a statement at the end of the like it's like I think that this is why I always say with the Levy stuff, right? I think that people use these like when I ask you what it is you do want, all I really hear is kind of like they're imperfect words that are subjective, that can be repositioned with revisionism to mean whatever you want after the fact. Backing a manager, subjective, means one thing to one, another to someone else. I want to see ambition. What does that mean? It's a word you can throw out there to answer a question without actually giving any specifics. I need to know what it is you want before you get it, so that then when you got what you want, did you actually? If it didn't work out, then you were wrong to want something different all the time. Because as I've always said, be careful what you wish for. But those people that don't like the "be careful what you wish for" phrase are also hate the fact that those people are also asking for specifics of what it is that you want. And for me, like, I've been very clear. I don't think that this system is ever going to work. Never in a million years will it ever work unless you have someone who can sit in front of that back four and just plonk and protect and be an absolute old school beast who just sits there and is a master of the art of passing and a master of the art of anticipation, interpretation, and interceptions, basically. Figure out where the ball's going to be, get there before the next guy, pick players off, crunch a couple of players here and there, and make sure that your passing rate is at 93% or higher. So many of Tottenham's ridiculous high frequency of chances that we give up against start with sloppiness in our midfield. As much as I love Pape Sarr, his frequency of giving the ball up sloppily is ridiculous. Bissouma at unacceptable levels. I've had enough of it. Bentancur, when we do see him when he's not suspended, is pathetic. We don't have a midfield capable of this system. And if Ange thinks that we don't need a 6 because everyone can do a bit of everything. And he also thinks that you don't need to worry about right versus left. I think it screams out that when he's gone up through the levels, he's gone to teams that have been the best by a country mile against everybody else. And he hasn't had to worry about those difficult things.
Can I repeat a phrase to you that somebody told me? This person is I respect quite a bit. They turned around and said to me, didn't they, Ben? That Ange...
he's reinventing the wheel.
And just trying to reinvent
it on the bolts.
Yeah, he's trying to reinvent the wheel, but removing the nuts and bolts, right, that make the wheel go round. Like, Sean, I've always agreed with you, right? If you are going to play any type of sort of gung-ho, all-out attacking, pressing football, you've got to have everything you need behind that forward line to make that
what did
work.
Bielsa when Bielsa's system was in full flow and Bielsa's system was really, really fun to watch? Calvin Phillips was a monster. He was absolutely brilliant. You know the moment he got the ball, 90-yard diagonal ball, straight out the feet.
But the thing is, Ben, when those teams have that as well, when you look at the best teams that have ever done this, I mean, we're going to the extreme, but when you look at Pep's Barcelona, where they had Dani Alves and Jordi Alba basically playing as forwards, right? What they had was the 2 centre-backs that sat back with Busquets, with Xavi, right? And they had that base, right? Tottenham, for me, what they've got to do is the 2 fullbacks need to stop playing as number 10s. It doesn't work. Yeah. And I don't know if any of you guys agree. I'll ask this question, then shut up. I can't understand, if you want to implement this philosophy, how have you not started from making it a solid base at the back first, right? Yeah. He's gone the other way. Completely negated the defensive side of our game. And now every team in the country knows how to beat us. They can't.
It's not just that, Sava, right? It's like if the idea that you don't, I'll shut up as well. I'm going to bring back Ben and Eugene. You can have some time. If you don't want a 6 because you think that the role of the fullback is to come and join and not play 10s but play defensive midfielders, that's what you want to, then go and get some fullbacks who are technically good enough to play as the 6s, but in order to find them, they don't have to be better going forward. Like in Destiny Udogie, we have a fullback who was supposed to be a wingback, which when he was in Italy is what he was, which tells you what? It tells you that he's better going forward than he is defensively. In Pedro Porro, we had a fullback that was supposed to be a wingback, which tells you again, better going forward than a natural fullback. If you want your fullbacks to sit in and play kind of 6s, 8s, whatever you want to call them, then I think you should find fullbacks that are more defensively mindset. Someone like, God forbid, the left back at Man United, who gets absolutely chewed over, whose name escapes me right now. What's the left back's name, Ben? Remind me.
From who?
At Man United right now. He gets chewed up all the time.
Dallo,
not Dallo, the other one, the English guy. It was England. Luke Shaw. Someone, I'm not advocating signing him. I'm just saying, as a fullback, defensively minded, right? Bit more stable. He is someone that would possibly be able to sit in and do that role more so than someone who's supposed to be a wing-back because they traditionally get forward more. Luke Shaw can't do the wing-back system for United. He gets chewed up in the press. He gets chewed up by United fans. I'm saying that if Tottenham want the fullbacks to do the job of 6s, then go and get fullbacks that represent that. And we're not doing that.
Doing the job of a 10, Sean. Look, yesterday how the goal came about. Jed Spence was in the number 10 position, loses the ball. We go. I'll stop now. But this is, for me, tactically, I've never seen anyone as poor as this manager ever in my life. Tactically, he is awful. It's schoolboy. It's like chucking a football into loads of 8-year-olds and going, go on. And they were all just running about. There's no discipline. And then people, listen, I've just sent you a WhatsApp, Sean, by the way, for all of these myths that, we've got no centre-backs and it's the drop-off. Well, first of all, it's been 14 months of this. So it's not that it's because we're missing centre-backs. Second of all, we've lost as many games this season with Van De Ven and Romero playing as without them. So it's such an easy excuse to chuck that Van De Ven and Romero aren't there. But when they were there, we were still losing to Palace and Ipswich and Newcastle.
I'd love to get this on my screen. I don't know how I can because I still haven't got these things figured out with.
No, it's fine. But that's just for you to see. Somebody worked out the percentages of when defenders are missing.
Without Van De Ven, win 50%, lost 50%. Without Van de Ven and Romero, pretty even, 37.5, and 25% draws. Without Van de Ven, Romero and Porro, win 60, lost 40. Without Porro and Udogie, only one game. Yeah, you're right. So what's the argument here is that it doesn't really matter what the squad is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean, thank you. So these stats there that I've just sent you show that when people just say, but Van de Ven and Romero are out, when you actually look at it, there's no difference in our win ratio, our points per game. It's poor. So I know people don't want to hear that.
But that goes back to what I was saying. I think our main issue is, I'm okay with giving up a goal or, given the way Ange wants to play. Our issue is we cannot score 2 goals against most teams for some reason. I mean, all those games that we lost, all like Ipswich's, Palace's, we score 1 goal and give up 2, right? And that's it. I mean, I guess it goes back to the debate of where a manager should come in and adapt to the players that he has, or should the manager expect to get his players in and stay for a couple of years and see what happens.
But we were told these were his players, Eugene.
What's that?
But we were told in the summer, when people like me argued about how I don't like Ange, I was told that these were his players that were coming in, and that this is his team now, and and now all of a sudden that it's not worked for well over a year. It's but he needs his players. What are his players?
No, but let's use common sense, right? Any manager, the lifespan of a manager in the Prem is 2 years. In the Spurs, it's 18 months. There's no manager in the world that would say, I want to win, and then spend 70 million on 18-year-olds. Solanke, sure, his, Johnson, his. But even if you look at Porro, Udogie, as you said, they're wing backs who were bought for Conte. I don't know if they can play the way Ange wants them to play, right? Again, I'm not saying
who else in the world of football. I think I keep hearing this, and listen, I know this will probably get me a lot of hate. I keep hearing this from people that has he got the players to play Ange ball, Ange's style of football? I don't see any other manager in world football playing this style.
No, I agree. So, by the way,
is it not that it's not achievable what he's actually trying to do, Eugene, rather than blaming the players all the time for not being good enough?
No, I agree. From my perspective is I don't care if it's Ange, if it's anybody else. Forget Ange, just any manager who we bring in, right? Conte, Jose, it doesn't matter. My thing is, okay, we'll bring in a manager. It could be Pep. It doesn't matter. And then that manager will be asked to take the players that we currently have and fit them into whatever system he has versus buying players for his system and be given time. Again, I agree with you with Ange's tactics. I'm just saying in general. So
let me ask, what players fit? But this is what I'm asking you, Eugene. No one can ever answer me this. It always seems that if a player comes in and works, i.e. Van de Ven, I hear that's who he wanted. When a player comes in and it doesn't work, it's, but he wasn't bought players for his system. Can you just let me know players that don't play for Spurs right now that are Ange system players? I don't know what the system is.
I'm not sure either.
But not just
it's not Gallagher, right? So we know that Ange wanted Gallagher. So my question is, if he gave the recruiting team a prototype, right? Obviously we couldn't get Gallagher, he wouldn't come here. But the recruiting team knows the type of player that Ange wants, and we still didn't bring anybody in like Gallagher who can do things that he can do. My question is why, right? And there were rumors about Neto and Eze, right? So we know the prototype of players that Ange wants, but for some reason we don't bring those in. And that's the question.
Well, hold on, hang on a second. There's a lot of assumptions there as well, though. We don't know. Someone
Conte wanted Bastoni. He wasn't going to get him.
Well, exactly.
Conte wanted Bastoni.
There's a lot of people that want things that you don't get what you want, right? Listen, I'm not sitting here saying that Daniel Levy is he's completely misread and everyone's got it wrong about him. Of course he is. He's not as loose. I've said 1,000 times since the very first video I ever did on this channel. I said this guy is the wrong risk appetite for Tottenham for football management, for football ownership. And I think that he is once bitten, twice shy. I said it at the very start of this video. I've said it from the get-go. When we've gone big, we've gone stupid. We've gone big on Richalison and made a complete clown of ourselves. So that guy was he's never been more than a £20 million striker. He's absolutely useless. Sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. The only thing Brazilian about him is his nationality. There's nothing about him that is valued in that regard. And he doesn't even care about anything other than playing for Brazil. So for me, all wrong. And you look at Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sanchez, all of the players we've signed for the biggest money we ever spent. And on that basis, Daniel Levy can sit there as a risk-averse guy and say, when we go big, we screw it up. And like human nature dictates, if you can find a reason to wriggle out of your own accountability, you will do. He'll put that at the feet of the players or the managers or the directors of football or whatever else that he sacked along the way and say, well, it wasn't me. I let them have their way and it didn't work out anyway. So why would I go big again? You can understand the logic from a human nature perspective. Mm-hmm. But just to get back to your point, Eugene, the guy at Sky Sports said the other day, I can't believe he even said it. He said, but the players, he goes, the people that know don't talk and the people that talk don't know. And I was like, coming from a media who talk about the specifics of journalism, the people that know don't talk and the people that talk don't know. Like, isn't that just an insight into how little you fucking know? Because if what you're saying is true, then transfer rumours, what happened with certain players, managers, all the backstory about things. Why was it that Nagelsmann didn't come to Tottenham? Why was it that Mourinho got fired? Why was it that the people that know don't talk, people that talk don't know? And I think it's an interesting insight. So we are all playing make-believe when we are trying to put A's and B's in front of C's and D's and expecting us to get to some level of truth. I just don't think it's necessarily that easy. Did Ange Postecoglou want Conor Gallagher? Possibly, probably.
Again,
someone that wasn't too dissimilar.
James
Maddison. Is James Maddison not a good enough player, Ben?
Ange can want Conor Gallagher all he wants. This is a born and bred die-hard Chelsea fan that believes in himself. He wasn't going to come to Tottenham unless you paid him idiotic money. And we don't pay. We got 5 players over $100,000 a week. I think something along those lines. This is going to mean a lot to you, Shawnee. This is someone who's at every single Levy out protest. Mm-hmm. Daniel Levy is not the reason we make our own players. Look, before I had to sort something out. I look at this Tottenham squad, and as you said before, Udogie is a wing back. He's good when he goes down the wing and attacks fullbacks. Porro is a wing back. He attacks his fullback. He goes down the wing and crosses the ball. Heung Min, one of the most lethal strikers in the history of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, goes closer to his forward and lives off the scraps of his forward, or the forward puts the ball into him. We've got Udogie and Porro playing central midfield.
Yep.
We've got Brennan Johnson, who you might not like Brennan Johnson. I actually quite like Brennan Johnson, but he's not the greatest footballer in the world. Brennan Johnson's our highest scorer this year, and that doesn't come from being crap. He might not be everyone's cup of tea, but he scores goals. We've got Heung Min and Brennan Johnson out wide, somewhere they're not good at. Neither of those two players are good playing out wide. They're not good crossers of the ball. Sonny can put a good cross in once in a while, but they're not players that cross the ball in on a sixpence back of the net. Because if they were, we'd get a whole lot more out of players like Richalison, who score 70% of their goals with their head.
Do you think Sonny fits in the 9 in this system, though, Ben?
No, I see him more of like a number 10, close to the striker. When the striker gets the ball, he overlaps and goes past.
Back to goal guy.
Not back to goal. He is on the shoulder, more like the Jermaine Defoe type.
So you're advocating for like a back 3 with the forwards almost kind of like tucking in a little bit.
Yes,
to be entirely honest, Ben, if that's what you're going to go with, I cannot believe that Ange Postecoglou cannot see the logic with the types of centre backs that we have.
Yeah.
And the types of problems that we absolutely are screaming at us in the face to go to a back 3 with Archie Gray, who's supposed to be the monster 6, who's a ball-playing centre-back, with Romero, ball-playing centre-back. And when you got wing-backs or full-backs that are traditional wing-backs, And then you've got this problem at the top end where Solanke's coming deep to have to get the ball to be the old Harry Kane. And then you've got Sonny, and he's stuck out on the width, but he can't take a man on anymore. Why, for fuck's sake, doesn't anyone go,
this is not Daniel Levy.
There's an obvious
Sean,
fucking formation that fits exactly what we need right now.
You know me, Sean.
You haven't got to sacrifice your system. Yeah. You don't have to sacrifice anything.
Yeah.
You can still be your gung-ho version of yourself. Just play the cards you're dealt.
But you know me, Sean. I'm at every single Levy out protest. I'm at the training ground. This is not Daniel Levy's fault. This is not Daniel Levy's fault that he's playing, that Ange is playing every single player out.
Clip that.
Like Alfie Dorrington. Alfie Dorrington is a centre-back. He's young, but he's a centre-back. We've got a lack of midfielders at the football club because they're all injured at the moment. But he's playing Archie Gray at centre-back, and Alfie Dorrington doesn't even get a chance. So why not play two centre-backs together in Dragoshin? Well, he's injured now. Dragoshin and Dorrington, who are natural centre-backs. You play Archie Gray, who's a natural number 6. You play Bissouma, who's a natural number 8 in his position. You play James Maddison, who's a natural number 10 in his fucking natural number 10 position. I want to throw the table.
Can I ask a simple question that probably needs a yes or no answer? And again, for all the people, I'm a reader of chats, and I'm watching people all spouting reasons as to why you can't play Udogie as a wing back, even though that's where he played for Udinese. Why Porro isn't a wing back, even though that's where he played for Sporting Lisbon. All of these reasons, right? Can I ask you for a question with a yes or no answer? Is what we're doing working?
No.
Ben?
No.
Eugene? No. Right. It's not working. But when anyone brings it up that it's not working, like Ben has just done brilliantly there, like I do, like you've just done, Sean, everybody finds a reason as to why something else won't work. All I know is this, Sean. When something is not working, the manager's job, he is paid to find a solution to a problem. And the problem with this guy is, it doesn't matter how many games, we've lost 14 of our last 25 league games. That is relegation.
Yeah, also, I heard you on your show this morning. Brilliant show, by the way. Really enjoyed it with the guy that I forget who you had on. I've never seen him before. Chris, yeah, really cool little chat you had. The stats around the ratios of where we're at with losses this year, and if you extrapolate that out to the end of the season, the fact we're in the bottom 3 for 2024, it doesn't bode well. And look, unless there is something that changes, and there's not going to be the only thing that will change in Ange's favour is some injury recoveries. But
Sean, sorry, hang on, this is my problem, right?
That's it.
This time last year, we were having the same conversations. Right, when I was saying to everyone, I can't stand this manager, don't like his tactics, yada, yada, yada. All I was told was, Sava, wait till Van De Ven and Romero are back, right? The second half of last season was worse than the first half when they were all fit. So everyone just assuming they come back and we get better, there's no evidence.
It doesn't happen, yeah. Right? It doesn't happen. And all we're seeing is
this squad management as well. Romero and Van De Ven didn't play against Bournemouth. They weren't even on the substitutes. And Eugene, you say this: if they were past fit, they can play. That's not how football works. That's not how football works. When someone is fit, you put them on the bench. You play them for 10, 15 minutes. You get some warmth in their legs. Then they play 25 minutes, half an hour. When you've got a long recurring injury, you've got to warm them up. You can't just say, you know what, they're fit now. Van De Ven's had a really long hamstring injury. He's playing 90 minutes now. You don't do that.
Mental.
But Romero, yes, he did a different injury to the one you already had. But when you're overcompensating for an injury you got, you're more likely to do another injury to another part of your body because your body's weak. You don't play them both together because suddenly they're both back fit. You're playing them both now. You don't do that because Dragoshin was at that time. Dragoshin was playing well. So what's he thinking? He was playing okay at that moment. And the moment Romero's fit, who's been crap all season, oh, you're out of the team now, Dragu. If I was Dragoo, the first thing I would do is put in a transfer request, because no matter how well I'm playing, no matter how good I'm doing at the moment Romero's fit, I'm out the team. That is not squad management. That is.
I don't think he's been that spectacular, to be honest.
No, it's not been spectacular, Sean.
I think there's a lot of pressure on him.
Romero. I have been better than Romero at centre back. This is how crap Romero's been at centre back this year. The moment Romero's any sort of fit, he's playing immediately, no matter how shit he's been this year. If I was Dragic, I would be putting in a transfer request, because no matter what I do, I could put in a 10 out of 10 performance. If Romero's fit, he's playing next week. That's not fair. That's not meritocracy.
To me, guys,
he hasn't.
I don't disagree. I think that in Ange's defence, there's a couple of things. Right? I think that he is a victim. I said from the very before I even knew that Ange was going to be the guy. I'll say it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times again. For me, the next guy was never going to be the guy at Tottenham. It was going to be the guy after the guy, because that person would have had enough time to inherit a young squad that was going to mature. And look, I look at some of the bright sparks, and there are some. I think that Pape Sarr is a phenomenal player. He will become a stronger and stronger player as time goes on. He needs to get his button up his passing at times. It's so frustrating, but his ability to intercept, interpret, analyze, and pick the team off, and his ability to cover blades is insane. I think that Lucas Bergvall is a real talent. I don't think he is necessarily ready for 90 minutes all the time just yet, but I think he's an absolute. He is a talent, and the fact that he's gone from the Swedish league and he's not embarrassing himself at this level at all in any way, shape, or form, in a system that has asked him to show a little bit of what he's got without really a clear, defined path, because there's no such thing as a specific midfielder in the Ange system. It's, you can do everything. You can be a creator and a monster and a beast and a, whatever. I think that's madness, but I think he's done really well. And I think that the next guy will inherit a better squad that is youth-centric. I think that I feel a little bit sorry for Radu Dragusin at 21 years old to be the most senior defender in a back four that has got players that haven't played at all together, that have barely played at all in the Premier League. Sorry?
You mean I feel sorry for him. He's playing in a system that isn't suited to him.
A back two. You're right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. It is a back two.
Everyone's having a pop at him. This guy, we all know what he is. He's a defender that wants to defend. He's not a ball playing, bring it out, halfway line defender. But to Ben's point earlier, who in this team is playing in their actual position? Who? Does anyone name one?
Solanke, maybe. Solanke,
who even then spends half his time dropping back to the halfway line to get the ball.
Yeah.
Who in this team is playing in their actual position?
Brennan Johnson.
Well, no, I think Brennan Johnson's a forward. I don't think he's a winger. Can't beat a man for toffee.
Brennan Johnson probably should become the 9.
Look,
like I was saying before, the moment Solanke gets the ball and he holds the ball off, both Sonny and Solanke should be going central and narrow and going straight past the centre back and taking that. Because the moment Solanke gets the ball, because he's a big, strong boy, the centre backs are going to be going after him because we've got to get this ball. He can then turn and then put the ball in behind, and then we can. Sava has Wolfie, who's a Forest fan on every week. What players like Brennan Johnson love is space. They love space in behind. And when we're playing so far up the pitch, that space is actually reduced because because we're so high up the pitch, that forces the other team to retreat. So that space that Johnson would use to abuse with his pace, it's gone then. And that's what Johnson loves. He loves open space for a straight ball, get in there, back post, goal. That's what Brennan Johnson's good at. And we don't use it.
Ben, do you know the thing for me right here is, I think, again, because we're all so invested in Spurs, I think a lot of people don't like truth, right? If we break this down, if we all took our Spurs hats off or glasses or whatever people are wearing, right? If we look at it from the outside, we are not doing well, and we haven't since that first defeat against Chelsea. Every metric has been embarrassing. Every metric has been bottom half table stuff. It's been piss poor. Now, fans don't want to hear that because it's our club. But as I always say, Ben, to you, if we looked down the road and saw our rivals were doing this, someone else, we'd laugh.
We'd be laughing at them.
I always ask this question to everyone. Should we be below all the teams we're below in the Premier League? If the answer is no, right, and the fact that we're nowhere near them tells you how diabolical this situation has got. And for me, I want to stop this rot before. Sorry, last thing I'll say is this. When people are going, like Eugene, you say, I want to give people 2 years. You've got a manager telling you, I'm not changing. Like he's telling you, I don't care if we lose. I don't care if we get battered. I'm not changing. I'm not adapting. I'm not going to try and figure out ways to make us better. We're just going to keep doing the same thing.
So
right?
why?
Sorry, Eugene, but I'm not. But we're asking to give a manager time. He only gets 3 years. The longest Ange Postecoglou has spent at a football club is 3 years. How much time does it have to start work? If we go by the metric that he only spends 3 years at a football club, which is the truth, that is factual information. Apart from the Australia under-21 job, which he was 6 years in the job, but he only played like 34 games. Ange Postecoglou has never spent more than 3 years in a job. If we're asking for a manager that doesn't have a lot of time in a job, he's got to start working now. We're halfway in during his tenure. He's got to start working now or get out because he's never spent more.
Eugene, I'm going to... Sorry, Ben, finish your point. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
That's it. We're asking to give Ange time. He never spends a lot of time. He goes, okay, first year transition, bang, bang, gone. That's what Ange does. He's a win now manager in lesser leagues, because I'm not going to slate the Scottish League and the Japanese League and the Australian League, because you can only manage who you're against with. But in the Premier League, unless you are Mourinho, Conte, Pep Guardiola, who come into a big job, spend shit tons of money, you can't spend 3 years in a job, because most teams don't go and say, all right, we're going to spend 500 million this year, buy the players you need, we're going to win everything, and then we'll repeat it for the next manager. If Ange only spends 3 years in a job, he's got to start improving now. Yeah, because it's
he didn't start improving a year and a half ago, Ben.
Yeah. Well, let alone now. I think there's more at play, right? I think so. I'm going to press pause in the conversation. Usually, I want you to come back on what Ben said. You obviously were about to say something just before, and I want to also just pivot the conversation towards a new tone, I guess, of like. I think we're all kind of on board this narrative right now. I think you'd be hard pushed to find too many that are sort of still 100% behind Ange and the confidence train. If you are, like, surely people are departing that train quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Eugene, just 1 second. We just get a couple of super chats I didn't manage to get through a while back. Joshua saying, "Big up to you both. I don't see Ange lasting till February." That was from way back when it was just me and Sava. So big up to you, Josh. Appreciate you, my man. Frankly, Tottenham saying this squad is screaming for a back three. I think we were just touched on that a little while ago. I think that's 100% right, Frank. Good to see you, my man. And Blaine Devlin as well says, "Oi, sick note, put a shift in, Sean, would you?" Yeah, I feel horrendous. You know what? The red wine seems to make everything feel a little bit better until tomorrow morning, and then we start again. I'd like you guys to discuss how you would set our current squad up, whatever formation, no injuries, with a couple of ideal signings in January. Blaine, with permission, I'll come back to that, mate. But what I would like to do instead is maybe include that style, because I think that this, unfortunately, it's a bit of a dead rubber conversation if we're assuming that Ange is still here. If Ange is still here, nothing's going to change, right? We're going to stick to our same 4-3-3 with no specific left or right, no specific sign up, settings, no like player specific settings on FIFA, and just everyone can muck in and do a little bit of everything. And I think it's just so naive at this level. I think that players have very specific roles and responsibilities at this level, and there's a reason why that's the case. And I think that, as I say, I think Ange is maybe just a little bit exposed, I would say, tactically. The fact that he can't even be bothered to have a plan B, as I said at the start, can't change, won't change. The reason why he won't change is because he can't change, because if he said to the guys, all right, we'll go to plan B now for Wolves, they would say, what's plan B? We haven't done any plan B. So unfortunately, we are stuck with what we have because he hasn't spent any time on the training ground teaching a plan B. So that, I think, is a big red flag. I think the fact that he spends all his time on the training ground in the office watching it, if that's true, is a massive red flag. I think that the fact that he doesn't see the difference between left and right or 6, 8 and 10 is a massive red flag. The fact that he doesn't arrive with his own coaches that know his system inside and out is a massive red flag. If I'm entirely honest, I've been thinking it for a while, but in the pursuit of balance and in the pursuit of also not thinking I'm ready for another new change yet, plus also being very aware that those people that bang that Levy out drum, for them to get their Levy out narrative marching along, they need this project to be written in the line as a failure, i.e. Ange out has to become a thing. That has to materialize. The sacking has to happen. And then it's another failure to then get that ban. Until it happens, it's still a project in play. And so I'm not ready for those things to happen just yet. I think it's also unfair to see a new manager come in when he hasn't failed in any of the competitions yet. On that basis, I'm still willing to see it play out, although I don't have any good hopes. But what I'll ask of you guys, I'll start with you, Eugene. And this hopefully is where Blaine, thank you very much for the super chat. Very nice of you, man. Very generous as always. Always, buddy. I love you to pieces. Let's take what he's saying around how would you set the current squad up, whatever formation, no injury, etc. How would you do it under a new manager? Right? Let's presume that there is a new manager at some point. What is your new manager? Who would you like that manager to be? And what not necessarily, you can give a name if you have a name, but what are the kind of the prerequisite requirements? Is it tactical nous? Is it the ability to pivot? Like you never know where he's going to go next. Is it the ability to be deliberate with this is the reason I've done this. It might not work, but I'll own it if it doesn't. But this is why I'm doing it this way. Like at least some accountability other than just some airy-fairy kind of philosophical waffle. Let me know. Eugene, I'll start with you. And if you want to include the stuff that Blaine's included there, formation, injuries, etc., then let me know.
By the way, I'm going to jump in 5 minutes. But, I mean, that's the tough one, Sean, right? And, again, I'm not defending Ange. Just going back quickly to what Sava and Ben are saying. My point is that I'm tired of every manager that comes in is expected to work with the existing players who were bought for a different manager. Conte, he had a defensive system. He had the world-class, front three or front two, Kane and Son, and crap defense. Now with Ange, it's the other way around, right? Like we always blame the managers, but the club that never puts them in position to win. So again, I don't care if it's Jose, Ange, and whoever, right?
Hasn't he had 16 signings in 3 windows? Eugene?
Well, look at starting 11. But look at our starting 11, right? More than half were bought for Conte.
Yeah,
right?
but that's natural. You're not going to change an entire 11 in 1 year, are you? That's natural.
Well, so exactly. So that's my point. Look, on to your question, people say the squad would work well under Conte, which makes sense. I agree. Back three. The issue is, again, if you look at our attack, Son, I think he's done. His legs are gone. He has no explosiveness. His confidence is shot. Solanke is a good player. But again, I'm not sure how these players would play under a different system. For example, we all wanted to see Bissouma when Conte didn't want to play him. We're like, oh, he was great, in Brighton. There was a reason why he didn't play, and we see it right now. He's inconsistent. He doesn't have a high footballing IQ. He has his limitations. Same thing with Madison. So for me, it's bigger than a manager. It's bigger than a system. What's the best that this squad can do? 5th, 4th, tops. That's where we are, right? So for me, again, I'm not looking at Ange. I don't care who we have. The best we can do with this squad is top 4 or challenge for top 4. I want
to rebuttal on James Maddison because James Maddison was the highest goal contributing English player other than Harry Kane. It's not like he was not pulling up trees at Leicester. They won an FA Cup. He was doing really well.
But Ben, if you ask fans at Leicester, they would tell you third of the season he plays great.
Did you want him before we signed him, Eugene, though? I didn't know you. I don't know you, so I don't know I don't know if there's a public record of your stance on James Maddison when we signed him, but I don't remember seeing anybody anywhere across the Tottenham fan base that wasn't anything other than over the moon that we signed James
I was super
Maddison.
happy. I was super happy, but again, not personally, but Sal, was it on your channel or Think Bad on your channel, right? There is a Leicester fan who's like, hey guys,
Wayne Holland. Wayne Holland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's a great player, inconsistent. Again, I didn't know about him. I watched him.
But that's fine. And that's his opinion. And he's I know Wayne, not lovely guy. I hope he's doing well. But like I say, but universally, every single Tottenham fan was happy with it. I don't remember anybody. There was not a single channel that went no to Maddison.
Yeah, you're right. I
But,
agree.
and then now those same people come out and say, I wasn't on board Johnson. I wasn't on board Richarlison. I wasn't on board X. I wasn't on board Y. I wasn't on board Z. But they conveniently forget the names on the list that everyone was universally on board that have still turned out to be meh players. And James Maddison, I'll be honest, hasn't been the player that we all hoped he would be.
He's our highest goal.
He hasn't been a contributor in this system, mate. In this system, I've said it. This is the way I interpret it. It's just my opinion, but I've said it from the very second that I understood what Ange Ball was. I said you can't have.
He's not right.
No, I said you need players like, for example, if you put Sonny in the 9, Timo Werner on the left, Johnson on the right, and Maddison in the 10, you're going to struggle because you attack from you defend from the attack. You press as a team. You need a 10-man press. Everyone needs to work hard. There needs to be so many sacrificial lambs. And James Maddison isn't that. Sonny is not that. Timo Werner is fucking for sure definitely not that. Brennan Johnson sure as hell isn't that. Dominic Solanke is. That's why that signing makes so much sense to me. But you need players that will work hard off the ball and will stop worrying about preserving their energy for themselves. They're not that great at what they do anyway.
The issue.
So this goes back to this goes back to tactics. Spurs have bought James Maddison, who was one of the best number 10s in the country for 4 to 5 seasons. Now,
in a system where players around him do all the work, right?
Sure, but most number 10s play in systems where they're allowed to be a number 10. This is where when people are saying I disagree with what Eugene's saying there. The two players that we picked up on there in terms of Bissouma and Maddison, again, they're both playing wildly out of position. They're both not allowed to do what is their actual strong point that we've brought them to do. One's being asked to be a number 6, and he is not a number 6 in any way, shape, or form. The other one is being asked to run around like a blue-ass fly. I don't know many managers, players want their number 10 tracking back, running around. You want your number 10 as the outlet, right? Now, when James Maddison played for Leicester City, I'm sure there were periods of time where he wasn't completely consistent. That's what you get when you're not a world-class player, I'm afraid. You get players who aren't always consistent. But his numbers, right, for 3 years in a row, he averaged, Sean, 20 goal contributions in 30 games a season for Leicester, right? That's brilliant. He came to Spurs. We don't play him in the number 10. Instead, we've got Porro in his way. Udogie's in his way. Sarr's pushing into his position. Solanke's dropping into it. The wingers are coming inside. Funnily enough, when he was at Leicester City, he had Ndidi and Tielemans, a number 6 and a number 8 that did all the number 6 and number 8 stuff. Maddison could have all that space, that 20 yards outside the penalty area, 2 wingers running off him, and Jamie Vardy making runs. So when Maddison got the ball, he looked up, span, there's my ball, either out wide or to my forward. Right? When he gets the ball for Spurs, watch him closely. He gets the ball, gets his head up. He's got 5 or 6 players within 5-10 yards of him. Like there's no options. And still he's the scapegoat this year and still has got 13 goal contributions in 15 Premier League starts, right? So this guy...
Who's the scapegoat? Maddison?
Always the scapegoat. You look, anytime Spurs lose a game, the next game, who's the player Ange leaves out? It's Maddison. It's never Son, it's Maddison, right? It's never Kulu, it's Maddison, right? This guy, we're losing games and he brings him on with like 15 minutes to go. Maddison's our top goal.
Is that not more because it's the only area of the pitch where we have options?
Possibly, but Sean, if your top goal contributor is spending time on the bench in a system where Eugene's telling me we're struggling to break teams down. Wouldn't you say
the same thing about isn't Brennan Johnson therefore also the biggest scapegoat because he doesn't start that many games at the moment and he's also got the most goals in the Tottenham system, right?
Sure, but the difference is Brennan Johnson's not a creator like Maddison. Brennan Johnson's he's got his function, right? As Ben said, he drifts in, he's got that knack of getting to the back post, grabbing a goal, getting in the box. James Maddison's a creator. When James Maddison's on the park, he's one of those players, give me the ball. I'm always available.
Yeah,
Give
but
me the ball.
he needs space to be created for him to operate within, and this system crowds him
I
out.
agree.
That's why when he was playing for Leicester,
agree.
he was always on the left wing, or he was either in the number 10 position or playing as the left winger that would drift in. So actually, Maddison would make sense in this system because this is the most narrow system I've ever seen play. Because the wingers, we've got 2 wingers that drift inside, and we've also got 2 fullbacks. So all the players are like,
they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. That's the
so
point. That's the point. Hojbjerg was bought to be the outside, the overlap. Eugene, I know you said you got to go, mate. Listen, I feel like you barely spoke.
I've got to go in a minute as well. I came into rant.
It was expected. I want to hear 7, Ben. No, I'm going to bounce, but I cannot argue with anything tactically that you guys are saying, right? Again,
you're always welcome, man. You're always welcome, buddy.
The only thing is, I'm going to steal what you said before, and I agree. If you look at our starting midfield, there's not one player who's penciled in every single time, right? We can argue. So again, for me, regardless of tactics, just overall, if you bring in any new manager, our ceiling is top 5, top 4. I don't think even the players are good enough on the pitch to actually compete like I want the club to compete, right? All the fans are saying, or a lot of the fans were saying on different channels, we'll be happy with a trophy, and if it means we're 10th or 11th or whatever. Right.
Do you think we have any chance right now, Eugene? Do you think we have any chance of beating Liverpool over 2 legs?
I mean, if they rest their players, if Salah is rested, then maybe. I mean, who knows? But
have they did they rest many players in the quarterfinal?
Yeah, I mean,
they did, didn't they?
I was confident before. Now I'm not. I thought we had a good chance at Europa. Now the way we're playing, I don't. The way I've seen us, the way I've seen Roma and Gala, play against us, I don't have a lot of hope. If we get lucky, we get lucky. But again, right?
You'd be more confident over 1 leg rather than 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my worry.
Not if we start the way we did against Liverpool, right?
So guys, great show, Sean. Great show, Sava. Always good to talk to you, Ben.
Man. Appreciate you, buddy. You're welcome anytime, my mate. Well done, buddy. Ben, are you hanging around for 10 more minutes, or are you going to shoot off as well?
I've got to jump as well, Shawnee. Unfortunately, I've got to get some dinner. I need a turkey sandwich. It's 27th. It's time for a turkey sandwich.
Just, I need one word from you before I let you go and go and get yourself a turkey sandwich.
Sure.
Enjoy yourself. If not Ange, then who?
I'd rather you as the manager, to be honest, Sean.
Me
I'd
too.
rather you as the manager.
I promise you that would be a disaster.
We seem to have the bones of the bones of a youth project. Why not get a manager that's got prior experience of managing youth players? And I don't particularly like Graham Potter, but if I look at the system and I look at the players we have, it screams for a Graham Potter because we've got loads of young players. We're desperate to bring Vuskovic and Ashley Phillipson, who are 2 more young through the ranks. It suits a Graham Potter. I personally would have like a Thomas Frank.
Really?
I would like a Thomas Frank. I think Graham Potter suits the squad we have at the moment because we've got an abundance of youth players. I might not like him personally, but looking at the squad and without a particular manager's hat on my head, personally, I didn't think we should sack Conte because finally we've got a team that would have worked with Conte because we've got everything Conte needs except for maybe
his football was horrendous. His football was awful.
It's hindsight. I personally like Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank is a really good manager, and most importantly, something I say on in Sava's chat a lot: sensible football manager. Sensible football manager. Some games he plays 3 at the back. Sometimes he plays 4 at the back. He plays 4 at the back, sees the game isn't going his way, he reverts to a 3 at the back.
How is it, boys? Ben, if you got to jump, get your turkey sandwich, mate. I'll take what you said and run with it, mate. Thank you very much, Ben. Love you to pieces.
Cheers.
You got a channel? Is it the Coffee Company still in full swing? Oh, Coffee Company. Go to the Coffee Company. I think it's still in full swing. I don't know, but I've been so long out of the game. Sava, let me ask this, mate. The idea of so there's a couple of things that I worry about with the new manager sort of rationale, mate. And we're going to go for a little bit longer. I don't know how much time you've got, mate. Have you got 10 minutes?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. Okay, so number one is I think there's a never-ending list of players. In fact, I'm just going to quickly get through these super chats, and then I'm going to come back to
go for it, go for it.
Frankly, Tottenham saying 3-5-2, Sonny and Sankey up front, midfield, Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, number 10, back three, Van De Ven, Romero, Drago. I think he's saying probably Udogie and Porro at the top. I think a back three, honestly, this system right now with what you have in terms of injuries, with what you have in terms of options, to me, obviously right this second with the fact that there's no centre-backs, it's difficult to go to a back three, but it didn't require us to get here without doing that, and I think it's madness. Pete, but thank you for the super chat, Frank. Pete, good to see you, man. Good to see you, buddy. I was hoping you might jump on today, but it's late for you. It's late. Ange is failing not because of injuries and players. It's the level of opposition he's not used to facing every week. These are the best players he's had. Sav, what do you reckon? That's that.
I can't disagree with Pete more. It's a manager who's out of his depth. He's never managed players at this level before. He's never had to manage against this level of opposition. And he's never had to manage against managers with this tactical nous as well. That, listen, if he's managing against St. Mirren, no offense, St. Mirren, Ross County.
I think you're agreeing with him. I think he's saying that Ange is out of his depth.
That's what I said. I can't disagree with him. That's what I said.
Oh, I think so. I can't disagree with him more.
No, I can't. Sorry, Pete knows. I can't agree with him more. Sorry. Pete's my mate. Yeah, I can't agree with him more, mate. At the end of the day, there's a difference between managing against managers where you've got the best squad by a mile and you're going to win the league every year, and then managing against coaches that have worked him out and have got good players that can shut it up. And that's what I think he's struggling against. And I don't think, I think the reason he doesn't adapt is I don't think he knows how to adapt. So I think he's got to live this charade of, people call it arrogance or stubbornness. I just don't think he's good enough, Sean. Not being horrible, I just don't think he's good enough.
Yeah. Listen, I'm encouraged. Listen, unfortunately for me, right, in the pursuit of always trying to, on my channel, I want it to represent balance. And unfortunately, again, because I spend most of my videos doing like monologues where I'm taking the dog for a walk, I'm always spending my time thinking, well, I feel this way, but what's the other side of the coin here? And then I'm going to put myself in that person's shoe. And then I'm going to say, well, how do they feel about it? And then I come back. And then that's how I try to deliver my monologue stuff. But in so doing, one of the sort of byproduct negatives of that is that it's very easy to not have a clear, obvious opinion around what it is that you want. And now with Ange, if I'm entirely honest, I felt for a long time that the geezer, to me, as much as I want him to work, and as much as I don't think it solves anything right now, getting rid of him, I don't think we'll beat Liverpool. Even if you were to sack him tonight, right now, if Daniel Levy sacked him right now, and tomorrow morning, Jesus Christ himself was brought in, right, as the manager, I still don't think that we beat Liverpool in the first leg of the cup, and therefore, because it's only a week away, and therefore the cup story's done. And then you're back to the FA Cup third round. You're at the start of that whole competition, and the Europa League thing is still a million miles away, right? So, and then the league is where it is. So I don't really see what changes in sacking him anyway. And I think that it's unfair and unreasonable to sack him whilst he's still in all the competitions. I think he'll always be able to say that that's Tottenham being like outrageously unfair. So for me, I'm not sure what the benefit is of sacking him, but I also think that the guy is incredibly naive, and I'm struggling to defend the indefensible at times. And Roy Viking says, if we sack Ange, I think we got to bring back Pochettino. Would you do that, mate? Would you? This is where I was going. Would you pay USA out of their contract and say, come back? You know, bring the boy home, or is that like a story too far?
I feel like the ship sailed. I kind of feel like there's a lot of other options, but I get it from a PR standpoint from the club to go out. You know, it's almost like, we made a mistake with this manager. How can we appease 90% of the fan base? Let's go back and get Poch, right? What I do know is Poch would do an amazing job compared to this guy with these players. And Poch can mix things up. He can float from a back four to a back three to 2 centre mids, 3 centre mids. So listen, I'd take Poch, but I as I said, Sean, I'd take Bugsy Malone over Ange. I think he's the worst manager I've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur. I think it's dreadful. I don't know what he's being paid to do, because he's not managing. He's not coaching or managing. He's just putting them out there every week saying, go and do the same thing. And no matter the results, he's telling everyone we're still going to keep doing it. That's fine, but we're bottom three in the form table for 25 games.
So who is it you look for? Obviously, outside of the Premier League, right? Forget about the Premier League. Obviously, we all know Areola and Silva are team managers that have stepped up a little bit. And Thomas Frank, obviously, has been around the block. Outside of that, I mean, if you're looking for tactical guys, Adi Hutter at Monaco, the Austrian guy.
I think there's loads of
Hoeneß, is it Hoeneß, the guy who plays Stuttgart?
I'd take Hoeneß from Stuttgart. I'd take Palladino from Fiorentina. I'd take Mikel from Girona. Think of a free agent, Terzic. Right?
Yeah.
When people keep telling me, but who else is out there? There's managers.
Would you go and try and get Gasperini? Would he come? How much money would he want to leave what he's got?
I don't think he's gettable. Atalanta are in a title race. They've just won the Europa League. They're flying in the Champions League. I can't see that he would want to leave to come to Tottenham. But for me, there's loads of good managers, Sean. There's loads of good tactical managers. Who?
Motta from, he's only recently joined Bologna, hasn't he?
I'd take Motta. Honestly, mate, I'm at the stage where I reckon if I woke up tomorrow and saw that Wayne Rooney had the job, I wouldn't mind. I'm so disillusioned with. I don't think. Before I came on the show, I was listening to you, and you turned around and you said you don't feel that Ange is either a manager or a coach, and I agree with you completely. Yeah. I don't think he's coached anything at all, and I don't think from a management point of view, I don't see what he does. There's no. Not
he's
just
a philosopher to me. He's someone who kind of leans into like the bigger picture stuff, Well,
there's no oomph. He doesn't manage from that halfway, like from the dugout. He doesn't, he doesn't ever bring the players over and go, right, you two come here. I want you to sit in. It's just go gung ho.
The absence of seeing it, like it's one thing to see it and kind of go, oh, let them get on with the fucking game, bro. Like there's one to have a problem with over management. You can sit there and say micromanagement is overbearing. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. You can step back. But when things are going tits up and you're not doing a thing, the absence of it's not just visible, it's visceral. And to me, it is a demonstration of another flag and that long list of flags that I'm trying to outline to people why I have, in the effort to try to be balanced, I try not to always land on a certain conclusion. But with Ange, I find it very difficult to sit there and go, where is the reason to back him? I just don't think there's enough, if I'm honest. And
how many times have we gotten in at half time? By the way, Sean, just because people are going, I was being very flippant about Wayne Rooney. Can we please?
Yeah, no, of course, it's a joke. Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah.
Joking. Everyone's gone, oh, Rooney, what's he? Right. How many times have we gone in at half time, Sean, after a shocking first half, lackluster, and you think, right, show me in the second half, like a tactical change, a substitution. And you're sitting there going, no, he's just sent them out to do the same thing again and again and again. And for me, as I said, when plan A works, when you get the 4-0 win versus City and Villa, it looks great. But there's too many games in between those big wins where you go, well, it's not working. Yeah. Show me plan B. And can I give you a really good example of it, Sean? Right?
Yeah, please.
A really good example for me is a manager that I think's done really well. And if someone had said 3 years ago to me, what about this manager? I would have said, no. But a manager that I think's been around the block a bit now, managed 3 or 4 clubs in the Premier League, and now looks like he's really got a good grip of it tactically, is Marco Silva at Fulham. Now, when I've seen Fulham play this year, bearing in mind, if at the beginning of the season, Sean, I'd said to anyone, what squad do you want, Spurs or Fulham's? No one, Sean, is picking Fulham's, right? We're probably going, oh, I'll have Robinson, the left back. Oh, I might have Smith Rowe in my squad. Do you know what I mean, right? With whatever. This guy has got a very limited, small Fulham squad, really well organised.
Small budget, tiny budget,
really well drilled. For all those people that go on about losing Kane, I'm not saying he's Kane, but for Fulham, they lost Mitrovic, who banged in goals for fun.
Yeah, and the monster in the six.
Right. They've lost Paulinho. They've gone out, made smart signings. Right. He's got them
Fulham fan. One of my best mates growing up, if he's watching this, shout out to you. I lost your number because I've also got the shenanigans. Give me a call, man. Find a way to get in touch in the DM or whatever. Massive Fulham fan. Used to be an Arsenal fan, then became a Fulham fan because his granddad used to be the owner of Fulham back in the day. Anyway, long story short, massive football fan. When Muniz signed for Fulham, he was like, all of his mates that are Fulham are like going, what's going on here? Now, is that story was what part of the catalyst of the buy-in was around Silva, because if you doubt something and the manager backs something to try to like paper over a crack, which actually becomes a foundation, a cementing of a new theme. Like Fulham's attack this year, and since they lost Mitrovic, has been in no small part of a pivot towards a new system that Silva didn't have much in the way of money to be able to overcome. Right, bearing in mind the previous owners of Fulham and the guy dying and all the shit that's happening there. Like, there's a whole lot of politics in the background as well, and so like you can buy into a manager if you get behind bringing someone in who does a brilliant job in the face of obscene adversity. Yep. Trying to replace those two players, a 6 and a 10, a 6 and a 9, that leave your club, and you replace them with what you're allowed to replace them with, and you still get a tune out of them. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
By the way, Sean, because I know people don't like context. By the way, I'm not sitting here saying Marco Silva's the be-all and end-all. I was just giving an example of a manager that coaches and adapts. All right, and somebody in the chat said to me, I just want to respond to this. Sorry, quickly. It said Marco Silva is someone that I could get with, but it took you 3 hours to mention him. I mean, well, first and foremost, I've not been here for 3 hours. Second of all, this was the first time I've been asked by Sean to name some managers.
Yeah.
Third of all, if you had watched my show this morning, I actually did a little bit about Marco Silva. Now,
the show's only an hour and a half long, and,
right?
But Sean, only 5 minutes ago did I ask the question, if not Ange, then who? So
someone said to me, "You watch, we'll finish above them." But this is my point, Sean.
Expectations, right?
We should be finishing above Fulham, guys. But my point is this: yesterday, he went to a flying Chelsea team, right? Scrapped his back four, went to a wing-back formation, and they did it on Match of the Day last night to show how, by playing the three centre-halves, they nullified the two Chelsea wingers and Cole Palmer. And I went, that's what I want from a manager. Not necessarily Silva, but that's what I want. I want a manager that goes, right, who are we playing today? Hang on. We're playing Chelsea. We know how good Palmer, Sancho, Neto are. What are we going to do to counter that? Ange doesn't. Ange says, we're just going to do our thing. I want a manager that can mix it up. I want a manager that says, you know what? We played really well last game.
Yeah.
I need to rip
the absence of like reading the fucking room. It's like, okay, are you that staunchly in favor of your opinions, or can we smell some absence of actual intelligence in that department? The longer it goes, and it's nothing to do with the fact that he's Australian, by the way. It's nothing. This idea that because he's Australian or because American managers get a hard time in the English league, Australian managers get a hard time in the English league. We are not xenophobic. We welcome managers. We welcome people of all. We're the biggest open border society in the world. Like we welcome everyone from anywhere. It's nothing to do with that. It's show me what you're capable of, and I will get on board it. And I don't know if he's capable of a plan B because I haven't seen it. And the fact that he refuses to do it tells me, as I say it 3 times now, can't change or won't change. He says won't change. Yeah. I think it's because he can't change, because he doesn't have the plan B. He hasn't taught a plan B. And that lack of a plan B means that he won't change because he doesn't have the option to, because everyone would go, what do you mean we're going to a back three? We've never spent a single second doing it on the training ground, of which apparently you're never there for. You're sat in your office under the fire, watching it from the fucking monitor. Like I like the guy. I want him to work, but I have come up against people that are brilliant, 10,000 foot, bigger picture people all through my career. And when the rubber meets the road is, where do you add the value outside of your perspective? When things become tough, where do you pivot to? And I think the reason why he doesn't is because he can't. And I think that is a problem at this level. And I think that to shout out to Pete, I've got to get through these other super chats because I haven't got them. There's not that many to go through, but I do want to bring up, and I do want to get back into this conversation about the managers in a second. Jory says, Ange has landed us in fatigue deficit that has eroded fitness, quality, health, and belief. The deficit will deepen from now on if we persist with this. Yep. I fucking love a Jory sentence, mate. It's like carved Jory. Out of that could be something that could be carved in stone and then like be plunked under the earth for like 10,000 years, and some philosopher will like dust it off. An archaeologist dust it off, and that language will persist forever. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful words, my man. It is. I don't disagree with you, Jory. I don't disagree with you. I think Ange is a little bit. Yeah, look, he's made a rod for his own back. I hate being the guy that lands on an opinion because that means I've kind of shaken off the other side. I try my best to not do it, but we got to Roy's, didn't we? If we sack Ange, I think we want to bring back. We've done that one already. Thank you though, Roy. And Blaine's come back in saying Ange came from Celtic. He couldn't beat Rangers this season with a much better group of players, and Rangers have been done this season. But is it time? Do you sack him right now? Do you sack him right now, Sava? Oh, sorry. Go on.
I would have sacked him last year when we lost to Chelsea and he put 9 men on the halfway line. Sean, there's pivotal moments. There's pivotal moments in every manager's career where you find out who they are. The moment he done that and then came out and said in the interview, even if we had gone down to 5 men, we would have done it. I thought, no, you're not serious. You're not a serious manager. And the 14 months since that, Sean, a couple of quick stats for you. Do you know since that game what his win ratio is? What his points per game ratio is?
Yeah, I saw it on your show earlier, 1.28 or something, right? 1.38.
No. Since that game, which was what 50 odd games ago, his points per game is 1.37. This season, It's gone down to 1.28. Since that game we lost to Chelsea, everything is doing that. Everything.
And what was the best? What was the best at our peak? Was it the 2.28 that Poch had in the 2016-17 season?
I've sent it to you, but yeah, here we go. I'll show you here. Hang on, let's see if
I can't bring that. I can't bring things on my phone up to my computer, so
I don't know if you can see that. It might be
2 point. That deep green line is 2.26. Quite focused. 2.26. That was the 2016-17 season, over 38 games. So
basically, this season is our worst points per game ratio for 20 years. Right now. All these people now that are saying, oh, it's the players. It's in the summer. Everyone was telling me I was negative because I predicted 7th, Sean. I was being told I'm negative. Now I'm being told I rate the players too much. Look, for me, it's not working, Sean. It's truly, truly not working. With my eyes, with the data, with everything, you can see it's not working. And the problem is, Sean, at first the media loved him, right? Now,
the media have given up on him as well.
By the way, Davy Crocodile, last year, everyone knows Sava predicted 5th and we finished 5th. Thank you. Don't even try and catch me out on that one, mate. Right? The problem is, Sean, now every pundit...
For what it's worth, though. For what it's worth. And so I love you to pieces. You're my mate. You're one of my best mates in the community. You and I have a different style of content. Like you come to your conclusion and then talk about it. My style is, at least I try to be, the guy that wants to talk about both sides, because on complex topics, I think that there's not always necessary. And you don't talk about Levy so much. So I know how you feel about Levy, but you sort of steer clear of the kind of the conversation. You find it repetitive and boring and ultimately kind of pointless, I guess, because I think we both agree on that point that nothing's going to change, right? Until they want to change. But on this particular concept, well, I can't really. If I'm someone that's sitting there kind of going, I'm struggling here. I'm really struggling to find a reason to other than it's too soon to change and he hasn't lost in any competition yet. Therefore, you got to give him enough rope. Outside of that, I don't really think that there's much point. There's no defense of the inability to offer a plan B. It just screams laziness. It's not tactically naive. It's tactically inept. It's lazy. It's like you've gotten away with it. It's like someone that's kind of, do you remember that guy who went on to BBC and he went in there as a cleaner or something and somehow he kind of fiddled his way through and just sort of like answered yes or no, whatever, to some random questions, and all of a sudden was being interviewed about Brexit. And it was this black guy from Africa and he didn't know why he was there. And they started out like, suddenly they were live and they had the interview. And he's kind of like, Brexit's it's a bad thing. No, don't agree. And he kind of like muddled his way through. I kind of feel like Ange a little bit has got away with murder with his tactical stance. And at this level, you're going to be exposed. And I just don't see really how you can defend it.
Can I ask a question? Sean, I want to ask a question. And again, listen, we love these shows because you get viewers and people disagreeing, and that's what it's all about. I'll ask a question for all those that are completely dismissing my point, right? By the way, my point, which is factually correct, by the way. Feelings are feelings, opinions are opinions, but the data I've bought is the data, right? You can't get away from that. I'd love to know from some of them people in the chat. So people in the chat, for example, like Davy Crocodile, Skunk Works. What I'd love to know from those people is when I'm told I'm dismissing him too early, the guy's been here 18 months. And the problem is, in 18 months, Sean, what I want to see is small incremental increases, right? That show we're getting a little bit better over 18 months. But what we've got is we're going this way. Every metric is actually going down. Every metric is going south. So when I say that and people go, it's so early, what am I meant to be judging him on? I'm asking those people, Sean, what should I be judging him on? All of those people that like him, what should I be judging him on? Because his points
throw me a rope here to grab hold of. Throw me the life reserve. What is it? Tell us something. And listen, guys, I've said this 5 times now. I won't say it again. I'm not like Sava, Stelios, the guys at Tottenham Away, the guys at so many other channels who have their opinion, and fair play to them, right? There's no criticism of it. It's just their style. My style's different, but like I look for both sides of the coin. On this one right now, I don't really see what it is there is to hang your hat on around Ange. I don't. I'm sorry. I've tried all season, and I'm running out of excuses.
Sean, do you know why I asked that question?
Running out of excuses for it.
I asked that question because I knew the very first person would come back and play into my hands. I knew they would. You know, when you've been doing YouTube so long that you can almost predict everything, the first person's come back and they've used the buzzword, right? They've used the buzzword, which is rebuild. Fine. I always ask this. No one can actually give me an answer. A, what are we rebuilding from? And B, if we're in a rebuild, right, why are we not seeing any green shoots? Why is nothing after 18 months getting better? Again, the next person came in and said injuries. Again, my data is based around 14 months, of which, no, we have not had injuries for 14 months. And in the last 14 months, do you know where we would be in the form table, Sean? In 14 months, right? We are 15th.
Bottom 3.
We are 15th, right? Yes, bottom 3. Because but it is the bottom 3 because you don't count the 3 teams that got promoted. So we are
good point.
15th out of 17 Premier League teams over that 14-month period. So when these people tell me
injuries is the only excuse, unless you factor in the fact that nothing was really that different. Well, we didn't have a plan B then either. When we had Van De Ven, we had all those players in. I still think, I'm sorry, I think that it's not the defense that's the problem. I think it's the midfield. I think the midfield is an absolute woeful.
I think it's everything.
Hodgepodge of.
Sure, I think it's everything. I think it's everything. I think what we do is right. I think what we do is everything at the moment. The excuse right now is, Van De Ven and Romero out. We've got no defenders. When we were losing loads of games with Van De Ven and Romero, the excuse was something else. It was, we're playing 3 times a week. Before that, it was injuries. Before that, it's a rebuild. I'm asking this question. At what point am I, all these people that tell me I'm judging too soon, at what stage am I allowed to judge him then based on the fact that he's done a terrible, terrible job? And he has, Sean. Factually, He's been the worst manager we've had for 20 years, factually.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear it. It's true.
I'd feel differently. Like I say, for me, the next manager that comes in, if it's let's use the easier ones, because I think most people don't really know what Hurlis has done, right? They don't know what the guy at Monaco's done. They don't really know what the guy before the current fella at Bologna's done, not the previous guy. Like there's loads of examples of managers out there in the Italian setup that have flown under the radar for European leagues, but have done really well in their own little thing, that are tactical nous. But even amongst the teams, the only thing I would say is that there's a never-ending stream of managers that have done very well at taking a team from the expectation levels of smaller clubs, at Bournemouth, at Fulham, at Brighton. I mean, Brighton have had a terrible year as well. I think I saw your stats earlier, right? Brighton weren't that better than us. If you look at those 15 teams or whatever, 17 teams or whatever it was that you could show, because you didn't include those 3 teams, I think Brighton have only got 1 point more than us, right, over the last year. And so
I would
people often point to.
I would expect that, Sean, with the budget that Brighton play with and what they pay their players, and I would expect that from Brighton. But
So they've been punching above their weight for a long time, and then maybe they're just regressing back to the mean a little bit, right?
Agreed. Look, what I don't understand is this, right? I don't understand what we're actually allowed to say as YouTubers anymore, Sean. Because at the beginning of the season,
whatever you want, mate. Say whatever you want. Don't worry about it.
No, Sean, I know. But my point is this: at the beginning of the season, when I said 7th because I don't rate the manager, and I was called every name under the sun and told how negative I am. Now we're sitting in 11th. And by the way, I don't think they're winning at the moment, I've not got the game on. If Brighton win tonight, we're 5 points off the top 10. Just by way of example.
Yeah.
If I say 7,
we've got some tough games coming up, right? Some really tough games coming up.
We have got tough games, but I predicted 7th at the beginning of the season and was told how negative I was. Now I'm being told I'm wrong, even though my 7th prediction looks really, really far away. When are we allowed to judge him? For all these people that tell us we're not allowed to, I'll ask all those fans, when are we allowed to judge him? Right,
the only thing I would say, mate, the only thing I would say, as I said this before you came on, and this wasn't aimed at someone like yourself necessarily or anybody else, but what I would say, as I said before, is predicting the unsuccessful lottery numbers is a lot easier than predicting the ones that are going to win, right? And when you look at a team like Tottenham, but it doesn't have to be Tottenham. You take the most successful team in all time in the Premier League or in the English football setup, in Manchester United or Liverpool, they still fail 80% of the time, right? So if the definition of success is lifting a trophy, no, I know it's not your argument. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, generally speaking, like predicting failure, and therefore by proxy, erring on the side of always casting shade on the decisions of the people that are in charge and saying, I didn't agree with this. I don't agree with this signing. That signing is no good. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm not saying you were doing that.
I get it.
Then it's an easy stance. It's an easy kind of, however you want to call it, a shtick, is to always find a reason to say, well, I don't agree with that, because you're ultimately going to be right far more often than you're going to be wrong. And if on the 1 time in 100 that Tottenham do win a trophy, then you also get to celebrate your success. And most of the time, people are then going to be more like in line with the idea of, I'll forget about the hate right now. I'm going to celebrate Tottenham's success. So for me, I feel like it's easy money. It's an easy narrative to kind of back. Like if you're someone that goes to Ascot in the summer or to Goodwood or Cheltenham and backs 100-1 on to win the cup because he's never been beaten ever, and you back that guy to give yourself a massive pat on the back and say I'm an absolute champion because I always back the guy every time I have a bet on a race and I bet on the favourite or I lay everybody else, then I think that it's not necessarily a demonstration of now, it's a demonstration of like a great point. I would love to see what it is that these people really want, and I don't see enough of it. I don't see anywhere near enough of. I didn't want him. What I wanted was him. It was reasonable. It was plausible. And then when you get him, remembering that fact when you're giving your further future analysis of why you're still unhappy. Not from you, Saba, or anybody else. I'm not throwing that at anybody, but I think it's a common thing in football. Fan shows.
But the problem is, now whenever I talk about Ange and not like him as a manager, everyone throws, but trophies and success. Do you know my issue at the moment? It's not even about whether Ange wins a trophy or not, or this manager should be winning a trophy. I just look at the club and the way we play is so bad, Sean, that I'm not even thinking about trophies. I'm thinking about, I want a manager that can come in and coach and make us hard to beat. I want a manager that comes in and makes us a team that other teams are worried about playing. But before we worry about trophies. Secondly, all of this conversation about injuries. What if we didn't have injuries? I hate to break it to the world, but that's why this is a squad game, right? No team goes through the season without injuries. No team.
Do you not think our squad has I know that the results haven't, right? But if you had a manager in charge who was a bit more adaptable, that he could have done so much more with the squad that he has got.
Cool.
Right, so I don't have this argument. I won't hear this argument that our squad is. I've been saying it since the get-go of this season. I don't think that this squad is as bad as people say it is. I will not shake hands with that. I will shake hands with a lot. Maybe I err on the side of positivity more than I do on the side of caution. I get it. Sometimes maybe I'm a happy clapper, whatever. But I genuinely think that there's not that many teams that can have as many injuries as we have and still put out a squad that on their day can still beat the best and yet still lose to the worst. And if you're capable of doing that in spite of 10 different injuries to key components of your team in the same area at the same time, then it's not the squad depth that's a problem. Last season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons ago, the squad depth was a nightmare. We had nothing. We had a really strong first 11 and the drop-off to our bench was down here. It was incredible. Now, I don't see that big of a drop-off, Saba. I see it like, we've got some young players, but the young players that we've got, I think they're going to turn into some real class players. But I just think that for me, I think on this one, it's not the squad. It's the lack of a plan B, and it's the lack of any kind of willingness to embrace anything other than some foolhardy approach to football that, let's be honest, every other manager in world football, no manager in world football goes into football with the pursuit of playing pragmatic, boring shit. They all do what they do because they have to find a way to keep themselves in a job. Like Alan Pardew, Kerbishley, cherry pick whoever you want, David Moyes, any of these guys, they don't go into football wanting to play boring football. They do it because it's the ways to get from A to B and hopefully get enough points to keep themselves in a job. And I think that Ange Postecoglou is incredibly naive if he thinks that he's the only guy that has ever thought that playing one style of football is the pursuit of happiness and success. It's so silly to me. It's so silly.
The thing is, Sean, most managers will go in and the first thing they'll do is try and say, okay, let's give the team a shape, right? First and foremost, let's give the team a shape. When you watch Spurs, any still shot that they show of Spurs after a goal we've conceded or when we give the ball away, our shape is non-existent from a defensive standpoint. Now, people always go attacking. Football is about balance. You have to be able to balance from midfield to defense, from midfield to attack. You need to have those transitions, right? I can't think who it was yesterday. I heard one of the guests on Sky Sports, an ex-manager, gave a really, really good description. He said, look, for me, he said, what I think Ange has done, I'm trying to think who it was now. He said, what I think Ange has done is Ange has come in, he's tried to adopt this philosophy, which in theory is wonderful. In theory, it's great. But he's forgot about all the basics of what a team needs to be: organised, hardworking, good shape, cutting out, narrowing the angles, plugging the gaps, right? He's not, it's like he's come in, Sean, skipped all those steps and gone, right, how do we just go all out attack? That's fine. But to do that, you've got to have the best of the best of the best, right? And not many teams have the best of the best of the best. So for me, all I want is a manager that comes in. I'm not talking about winning trophies. I want a manager that comes in and goes, right, what have I got? Okay, I've got these centre-backs that play this style. I've got these full-backs that are actually wing-backs, not inverted. I've got a playmaker. I've got these midfielders that do this, so I need to buy a number 6. I don't think he does any of that. And the problem is, Sean, for me, it's almost turned into a vanity project of his rather
100%.
than a
ego.
project to better Tottenham Hotspur. It's
100%.
almost like we will die on the hill to play Ange's way, whether it's right for Tottenham or not. And the problem you've got is there are so many fans now that have backed this man to the point where they can't turn around and say, this isn't what they won't do it. This manager's got the worst.
I don't understand the loyalty. I don't get it.
Mad.
I'm not sure. I get it. Like Australians, I love Australians. I said at the start, they're my favorite people. I spent the 3 happiest years of my life in Australia. I love Australians, love Antipodeans. I find it difficult to understand why it is that an Australian manager living in Australia in an AFL team wouldn't get the same protection. An English manager playing in doing that same sort of thing in Australia wouldn't get the same protection from English fans. I'm not sure why there's some sort of difference. I guess maybe it's them sourcing somebody from there that comes over to our league and they want it to work. But I think there's a little bit blinkered approach. And I think that it comes across a little bit partisan, and it doesn't serve the purpose really. For me, look, I feel like the inability to recognize an obvious gap. If you're still trying to push a message after 16 months, like right now, it's more about the message getting through than anything else. After 16 months, if you haven't got that message across, look, how is it that Marco Silva has enough time on the training ground and Iriola to sit there and go, right, we got 3 games or 3 days before the next game. We're going to find enough time to practice a back 3, to practice a back 2, to factor in. We have to, figure out what the opposition threats and the SWOT analysis of that looks like, and prepare for where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are, what we can do against them, what they're likely to do against us. How do we set up? All of these things are clearly not things that we worry about, and therefore, how is it that we should be absolutely perfect at playing our own? If all we're doing is focusing on ourselves, then our own version of ourselves should by now be perfect.
Exactly. Sean, so here's what somebody, I can't remember what I was streaming with the other day, who said this. When you look at it, right? Nuno at Forest has been there, the same amount of time as Ange?
Yeah.
Right? Nuno's been there the same amount of time. I'm not saying I want Nuno before anyone says anything, right? You look at Iriola, I think he's been there a little bit less than Ange, right, at Bournemouth. These managers, right, have gone in, and whether you like, not you, I mean the football world, whether you like their philosophy or not, they've gone in, implemented a philosophy, made their teams hard to beat, got square pegs in square holes, and they've done all of that in a year to a year and a half. When you watch Spurs, every time we lose a game, the same Ange defenders come out and say, but he's implementing a philosophy. Well, hang on. We didn't have Europe last year. This is near enough the same 11 as last year because only Solanke from a senior perspective came in. These players by now, if that is the excuse, Sean, they should have this. They should have this system down to a well-oiled machine. But you watch us, they look like every game they're playing this philosophy for the first time. And then the excuse is always centre-backs. Well, hang on. What's the excuse for the midfield not functioning? What's the excuse for the forwards not? It's too easy. It's too easy an excuse.
It is. It's too easy an excuse, and it's not going to change. And that to me is the problem. And that's why, unfortunately, as much as I try to be balanced at this stage, I feel like, I still would argue that if you sack him right now, before you at least have to give him the rope. If he manages to squeak through the semi-finals and gets, if by hook or by crook we get to the final, for those of you that think that throwing the Mourinho thing at me is a reason why I should hate Daniel Levy, I'm with you on that. I think sacking Mourinho 2 days before the final was an outrageous faux pas. I'm not sure we know why. I think that you've always heard certain reasons from certain people that say that they know what they know, but I'm not sure. Sava's electronics is there you go. He's making sure that he's got his yellow right. He's been. I don't
but
subscribe
not every
to
conversation
hearsay,
needs to come back to Levy. Like look, Sean,
Daniel Levy has spent, I think he spent £1.1 billion on players. People that say that we were promised the stadium was going to be a game changer. Like, look, you might you might put game changer down to guaranteed success. That's up to you how you interpret it. I interpret it as, was it going to create enough revenue for us to be able to buy enough players? Yes. Yes, it did. Yes, it was, right? We spent £1.1 billion on players since the new stadium. Five-fold increase on the 5 years prior on an average net spend. Now, what Daniel Levy, he's not a sage. He's not some sort of like, Mystic Meg who could read the tea leaves and think that there was also going to be COVID and there was the Ukraine war and inflation and more money floating around the system than ever before. All of those things might not be things what people want to hear about, but they are relevant factors. But at the end of the day, like what £150 million in transfer spend could have got you 5 years ago is different to what it can get you now. It really is. Plus, you have to go through the massive sort of transition. You can't spend £100 million on one player if you also need 7 other players. There are things at play in that circumstance and that conversation that need to be addressed. I'll do my best to address them here. But at the same time, Ange Postecoglou needs to do more with what he's got. And the absence of any recognition, any realization that having a plan A and a plan A only is going to lead you down a path of easy pickings for managers that have got a little bit of tactical nous. It's difficult to defend. It's difficult to defend, Sava.
The Levy conversation we can have another time, and there's lots to go with it, right? But there's things you've said there that I agree with, things I disagree with, but that's fine. For me, I want to bring this back to what most football clubs talk about. I want to bring it for the test of time, Sean. Managers are the ones that will get the sack because managers are the ones that are coaching and putting the teams out, right? Now, for all those people that say it's just injuries, again, I would implore those people to please go and do some research because even before these injuries, our form was the same. Please go and do your research. For the last 14 months, our form has not been good, even when everyone's been fit. Look, when Ange first came in, you'll remember, Sean, I actually said, I like this. This is a breath of fresh air. Let's see what he's about. Problem is, after the first 10 games, when things are going great, it's like if you're in a relationship, right? When people get in a relationship, the first couple of months of a relationship are lovely. You don't really know each other that well. Everything's nice. You're in the dating phase. You're doing all those stuff. Right.
I've never been in a relationship more than 5 dates, mate. So I don't know.
Well,
that's why I'm ahead of this. That's why when these hackers finally get around with whatever they're going to do, they're probably going to expose me for being a bloke who enjoys prostitutes and stuff. You all know that's what I like. So get on with it, people. Get on with it.
It's the honeymoon period. During the honeymoon period in life, everything's great. When things start to get a bit tougher, when big decisions in life have to be made and you have those rows, and every couple has that, you have those rows, those debates, that's when you see what people are made of, right? Ange is no different to that. When those first 10 games were coming about and everything was a win or a draw, fine. When he started to lose games, we started to see, Sean, how good is this man's management? How good is this man at going, right, we lost that game because of X, Y, Z. Next game, I'm going to tweak, I'm going to adapt. So all these fans that love him and say, you don't get him, give him time. The problem is, like you said earlier, I need that rope to see, okay, we're losing games, but you know what? Look what he tried there. That was good. I liked that. But we're seeing the same thing every single game and the same excuses from the same people every time we lose. Sean, 14 defeats in 25, 4 defeats in 5, right? In our last 12 games, we've only won 3 of them. At what stage are we going to sit there and go, he's doing a bad job?
Yeah. Listen, I don't disagree, mate. Like I say, I spent the last however long, I took a 6-month absence from content, and I never even got my chance to really give my appraisal on the summer window. It wasn't good enough. I remember saying at the time in June, I remember going, look, if Timo Werner is the guy, surely he's not going to be the only left winger. If he is, then it's a problem. If he's the big signing, then that's a massive problem for me. I thought that we were going to get someone major. And Hojbjerg, for what it's worth, if you go all the way back to last season, and you'll see me making loads of content about other things, but talking about, well, we need players like, and I was looking at, I've said it 1,000 times. You look at you look at teams like Burnley and they've got players like Koleosho and Hojbjerg. So they're 10 a penny. These players are 10 a penny. These tricky wingers that can take players on. It's whether or not they have the ability to look up at the right time, to pick a pass and to find it. And Kulusevski, for me, is a player that looks up more than he's looking down. And I love his ability, and I love his growth, right? He's been fantastic. Hojbjerg, unfortunately, we haven't had any real chance to a sample size to see what he's like. But look, I think the Timo Werner was a massive mistake on Ange's part, a massive mistake on Daniel Levy or whoever it was, that made that kind of that made that decision. What I would say, for what it's worth, in the balance of things, when people now, the Levy out crowd, have now pivoted to a very a recency bias around what's the latest stick that we can hit him with. Oh, it's going to be the salary cap deficit or the salary deficit. I think that's also kind of cherry picking recency bias because, yes, there's a £30 million hole or whatever than there was the year before. But let's not forget that £10 million of that was Ndombele. And that wasn't just written off, that was paid off, right? So £10 million was paid off in advance. And it's no longer written on the kind of squad cost ratio. But there was £10 million taken out of our coffers for that. So that's 33% of it. And then the rest of it is Harry Kane and Ivan Perisic and Eric Dyer and Hugo Lloris, right? Like 4 players. I've seen this ratio of how many players Tottenham have got that are earning 100 grand or more. All right, if it stays that way, if you're just looking at it in isolation right now, it's opportunistic because if you want to, you're presenting an argument that's in an isolated moment in time. What I would say is let's see if Daniel Levy and Ange Postecoglou gets his way. He said he's got a big Christmas list and all that stuff. I don't personally think that it doesn't matter what we give Ange Postecoglou. I don't necessarily think it will change if Ange Postecoglou sticks to his guns with regards to his strategy. But I would hope that Daniel Levy is also cognizant, and Johan Langer, that when you're buying players, you're not buying them for this manager, you're buying them for the next manager as well. And so, mate, Sava, we spoke about this for years, the last couple of years, the philosophy, the continuity, the ethos, right? I remember these words me and you used to bang on about for hours and hours and hours every couple of days in 2023 and 2024. And 2025 will be no different. The pendulum has swung too far. Ange is too far this way. Conte was too far this way. What we need to do is land about here, where we maintain that kind of good front foot football, but there's balance, and where a manager isn't afraid to say, for this system, let's at least appreciate what we're up against. The away versus the home, the form versus the injuries versus the style versus the whatever else, and that you've got enough time on the training ground, which everyone else seems to be able to manage, to be able to say, well, I need to make sure that you adapt and you're adept in being able to play this version of football, that version of football, back 3, wing backs, full backs, front 4, 2 at the top, 1 at the top, 3 at the top, a 10, a 6, and an 8, or 3 across the midfield, whatever it is. Ange doesn't seem to want to do that. He doesn't even appreciate the fact that there's a difference between a midfielder. And he doesn't even think there's a difference between the left side and the right side. To me, all those things are massive red flags. And as I say, I'm struggling to defend it. And the injuries thing isn't really an excuse when you look back far enough, we didn't really do that much better when we had no injury problems either.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. As I said, when I watch a lot of the games, and I know we're talking about, if we just tighten up a little bit, but it was something, the stat was something like in the last 8 or 9 games, we've conceded over 200 shots at our goal. When you think teams are figuring it out, Sean, teams are figuring it out, right? This is how you get at Spurs. And the better teams, Chelsea whacked 4 past us. Yeah. Liverpool whacked 6 past us. You've got to be careful. Look, all I'll say is this. All I've asked to see from Ange in the last year is some form of incremental improvement. And I've not seen one anywhere. I've not seen an improvement anywhere. So for me, we're very different in this aspect. I would have sacked him a long time ago. I understand you saying you wouldn't sack him. But at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, people need to remember what they said. What people can't do is move the goalposts every single time something happens on a football pitch. The same people that were absolutely ripping into me in the summer for saying, I think we'll finish 7th and I don't rate Ange, are the same people now that have got excuses for every single time Spurs lose and are in the bottom half of the table. Like we've got to keep consistent here. Yes, if new evidence, Sean, you taught me this ages ago on YouTube. If new evidence comes to light over a period of time, you take that evidence on board and you go, yeah, actually, I'm going to pivot and change my opinion a little bit.
Yeah, flexibility of thought. Remember that?
But at the moment, I've not seen that from this manager in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Nothing to make me think that, right? Wow, Jesus. Steve Hayes in your chat. What, dude, listen, it's Christmas, mate. You've called me a moron and a mug, talked about my mum. Like, can we just, look, first of all, my mum's dead, right? So could you just give it a
He's gone. Steve,
just relax,
I've asked people
Christmas.
On this. We're not like that on this channel. We don't encourage it. Stop it. Right? Everyone can be nice. We can all disagree. Listen, mate, sorry if Steve Hayes is going after your mum as well. That's fucking outrageous.
Yeah, no, that's fine. When people start talking about my mum, I get like, whoa, call me a mug, call me a prick, word. But when it's my mum, it's anyway, Sean, I do need to go. I do need to go in the next 5. We're going to round off. Listen, what I'd like to say is it's the end of the year. It's been the worst year of my life, right? By a country mile. Never had so many things go terribly wrong with health and happiness and privacy and freedom and all that stuff. But there's only 4 days left of it, and I hope that next year is going to be better. I've got knows if it will or won't be. I would like to take this opportunity to say to you, Saba, I think you'd be a perfect third ball on this one. And this is an open invitation. I don't have your number. I don't have anyone's number anymore. If anyone is wondering why I haven't got in touch with any of you, my phone gets literally factory reset every 30 seconds or every hour, every couple of days, whatever. And I can't keep everyone's number. I write them down when I try to, but I know a lot of you in the community would like Stelios and I to have a debate on Daniel Levy. Stel, if you're watching this, mate, reach out to me if you can. I'm happy to let bygones be bygones. You can come on and we can double stream it to your channel as well. And Sava, if you'd like to be a part of it, you can be the I think you're friends with both of us. If you'd like to. I'll say, let me mediate it and not join in. I'll happily do that for you guys because I think it's important for, like, I get on with you and I get on with Stel. I think it's important that you two have a. But
I don't want it to be, because I think that I think that what's really important to know here, right, is that the opposite of Stelios is not Sean Butler when it comes to Daniel Levy. Like, and I think the opposite of Levy out is not. There's no one that is Levy in. There's nobody, as far as I'm aware, in the Tottenham content space that is like a staunch, like, this guy is the best we can have, right? There's no one that's like that. What I would say to people that are Levy out is that I think you guys are missing a trick. I think you guys should recognize that what you want, I personally will never be on board it as it currently sits. As I've said 1,000 times, I don't think it serves any purpose. I don't believe there's any evidence anywhere of a growing movement that expedites an outcome with regards ownership sales that somehow makes Daniel Levy or anybody else suddenly drop their asking price by billions or hundreds of millions just to please people that will never be happy anyway. So I just don't see the outcome that you want from protesting. However, I do think that that it's worth having this conversation, and I'm happy to do it. I would hope that there is no need for an invigilator, because I feel like he's a smart enough guy to be able to keep calm and represent his arguments. I think I can too. I'm happy to double stream it.
There you go. I'll speak to you and Stel afterwards. I think it will be good as well.
If he wants to get it going, I'd like to get it done. Like I say, before the end of the year. Maybe it'd be a nice little New Year's Eve thing, right? Like, that'd be quite interesting. But like, no bad intent. No, open-minded, open-armed. Like, if you want to do it, let's do it, because I think that it's worth putting it out there. And like I say, I'm not the opposite to what you guys want. We want the same thing. I just think that the Levy out movement probably could recognize that if you're trying to win the middle of the road, the moderate fan, then acknowledgement of their issues is probably the way to do it, rather than saying that they're the problem. And I think that's something that we could maybe achieve by getting on the stream together. And it's taken me a little bit of a time to get my head around whether it's worthwhile or not. I think at this stage, with the way I'm trying to put this year to bed, it might be a nice way to put the year to bed in the most productive fashion, which might be to get this thing done. So if you fancy it still, let me know. And Sava, if you fancy being the moderator or whatever, then I'd like you to do it.
Look. Let me. Look, I think first of all, let me say, look. First of all, I'm sorry you've had a really shit year. Your shit year has kind of coincided with Spurs' year. I know. Obviously, we speak away from YouTube. I know the shit you've gone through, and I hope that next year's better. From a YouTube point of view, I think it's really good. I think if you two, if you instead look, the problem that happens here, right? You've got the people that are so firmly in the kind of Stell camp. Then you've got the people that are so firmly kind of in the Sean camp. And what happens is, without you two actually having a conversation, what it means is every time one of you does a show, everyone that hates you will go on to Stell's show and go, Sean Butler, he's this, he's that, and everyone that hates Stell will come onto your show and go, Stell this, he's this. I think if you two just have a really good football conversation that doesn't descend into chaos, I think it could do a little bit to bringing some of the, obviously there's going to always be trolls, but it could bring some of the YouTube viewers that are just vile, it could bring them a little bit together as well. So look, I think it's a good thing. I think
that there's so much middle ground than is out there. Like I heard him talk on We Are Tottenham TV, I think the last couple of times, right? And he's after the Tottenham games. And I agree with you, Sava. I agree with him. I agree with Brian Daigle on so many things around the way that Tottenham is currently performing and operating. Where I just have a massive disassociation is this argument that there's a common denominator when you look internally, and maybe there is factually a common denominator around, but the inability to therefore be able to align problems now with problems over the last 25 years with anything else because of the fact that everything else changes so frequently, that therefore by proxy that is the responsibility. It's the equivalent of saying, like, for me, the way I look at it is going, well, most stabbings happen at night, therefore don't go out at night, you won't get stabbed. Or I mean, like, that's not necessarily and maybe you might be slightly more protected, but ultimately if you're a bad dude and you piss off the wrong people and you go out and you piss around and act like a donut during the daytime, if someone wants to stab you, they're going to find you in the daytime as well. I don't think that I don't think the amount of sunlight is going to protect you from that. I think that there's other things that are at play when it comes to why Tottenham haven't had that success. As I say, the main overarching formula for me is, if it's so true that Daniel Levy is the reason why we don't win any trophies, then where are the excuses for Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Derby, Ipswich? I've got all of the stats. I'd love to bring them up, but it's just not that simple. But that doesn't mean that I'm the opposite to you. I think that Daniel Levy could be a lot better than he is. Anyway. Anyway, open outreach, mate. If you want to do it, let's do it. Hopefully in the next couple of days, my man. I'd like to figure out a way. Sam, I'd love to see you.
As soon as we finish this, I'll chuck you and Stell into a WhatsApp group, because I know you don't have each other's numbers, whatever, and you can sort it out. And if you want someone that just sits there and moderates or a neutral ground,
contributes. I want you to contribute. Someone who's reasonable. Like I say, I see people saying get Brian Daigle in. Like Brian Daigle obviously he's very much on that side, right? So unless you wanted me to bring someone on that's like, I don't know,
Then it starts getting silly.
Who's the other geezer who's got the X in his name on Twitter, who's kind of more my way? I forget his name.
God knows.
Oh, whatever. But I could go and bring up.
We'll sort it out.
There's no need for that. So
we'll sort it out. Look, at the end of the day, there's lots of stuff I agree with Stell on. Stell and I disagree on whether protesting will work. Which a lot of people get on my back for, because I go, oh, you can't really be Levy out if you think protesting won't work. Anyway, let's sort it out. We'll sort it out, Sean. I'll hook you two up. I'll hook you two up. Don't worry.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sava, mate, you've been absolutely sensational, man. Thanks for coming on, man. I didn't expect it to be a 2.5 hour show. This was only supposed to be an hour as usual, but he goes on. It goes on this channel.
It's all good fun, man. It's all good fun.
Got all I think I've got through every super chat. Maybe I didn't. Jamie Allen, sorry, my man. I didn't see this. Robertson came out and said slot tweaks sometimes tactically every game. Meanwhile, our manager doesn't see a problem with playing two inverted. Exactly, mate. Thank you for the super chat. Happy New Year to everyone at the Spurs Talk Show from George. Thank you, my man. And also, we got a new member in Warren as well. Thank you for the support. Sava, what's coming up on your channel, mate, or over on Up? Big Up.
Yeah, no, I use Big Up for my watch-alongs that aren't Spurs, and then on my channel, I've just got loads of Spurs content coming up. I've got the Spurs review, got Debate Sava. I want to get a weekly show with you going in the new year as well. But yeah, just everyone that they either like me or they don't, so they'll watch me if they want to. And I'm only 140 away from 15k now, so shamelessly trying to get to 15k. So yeah,
if someone could do me a favor, someone who's watching this in the chats can put Sava's link up. Also, if you don't mind, can you put mine up as well? For whatever reason, when I left for my sabbatical, I was on 26,500, and then it drifted away to 26.4. I came back, and then suddenly it went to 26.1. I grew it back to 26.5. It went back to 26.1 in like 30 seconds. 400 people just kicked off, and then I grew it back to 26.5. And then all of a sudden, yesterday or 2 days ago, 300 more subscribers were knocked off again. I don't know what's going on. Shenanigans are afoot, whatever they are. But if you haven't already subscribed, then subscribe to mine, subscribe to Sava's. Someone put the links up for me. If not, I'll put them in the comment section below. Thank you to Benny Boy and to Eugene and to everyone that's came and hung around. 600 people for most, or 500 people for most of the evening. Thank you very much, Sava. Love you, man. Thanks to everybody. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, guys, come on, you Spurs.